Welcome, everybody. What's up? Welcome to the Loyal Local Podcast. I'm Drew Steck. We are hanging here this week with back with Esteban Presidente. What's up, man? Good to have you back.
Happy to be back. Yeah, we're still working through the Sans Jerry kinks on the intro, but we'll get there eventually, I think. But
yeah, we had software.
It's great to be back
this time. That's how it goes. But it's what it is. Technical difficulties, but Jerry, we miss you as always.
Yeah.
One of these intros we'll get through without missing Jerry. We do have somebody extra special on our podcast tonight, our marketing director. We've podcasted from her house. She has appeared on the podcast before, but never as a direct guest, I believe. So this is her first kind of episode, if you will, in terms of officially being on the podcast. So welcome, Nichole Peterson. Welcome to the podcast. How you doing?
Thanks, guys. Thanks for inviting me. Happy to be here.
Yeah, director of marketing for the Locals. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about her soccer journey a little later, and obviously break down the game that was and everything. But first of all, I got to get a drink because we were trying to figure out the audio before this, and then I wasn't able to get my beers. So, Steve, what are you drinking?
I am drinking a classic from North County, Virgin Brewing, Carlsbad Crush. It is one of their staples, and it is probably their my favorite beer that they make on the regular. They make a lot of one-off beers, but it's just a classic pale ale, but it's really like kind of fruity and floral, super good. So, Nichole, what do you got?
I've been doing like F45 challenge, trying to get back in shape. So
nice.
From my water bottle, but I did as a special treat just for the podcast. I went and got myself. I'm trying to stay away from all the carbs in the beer, so I have this really cool vodka seltzer that's made by two chicks, like a women-owned brewery, and it's even better. It's elderflower and pear, and elderflower is like my favorite cocktail flavor. It's like just a little mix and everything. And then also when we lived in Denmark, elderflower syrup, elderflower juice, elderflower beverages are everywhere. So I was kind of in heaven. So it's a little like reminds me of Denmark, and yeah, it's a nice little treat for me.
That's awesome. That is so cool. Yeah, when we'll get like Drew...
I might have not been in frame, but I was listening. I heard Nichole loves Saint Germain. That's what I heard.
I do. That's exactly it. Thank you.
But it's,
and like Drew said, we'll get to the personal questions with Nichole. We'll get to the whole story and all that. But first, before we start, I want to say cheers. So cheers to you guys, and cheers to everybody watching. And I just want to say thank you to Nichole for being on tonight with us, and thank you for all the hard work over the past couple weeks. We have had a couple people in leadership have to take a step back due to work and circumstances. Obviously, these are still really hard times we're doing right now. And I'll say that I just want to give a huge shout out. Nichole has stepped up massive in the second half of the season. It's just been a grind, and I feel like you have done so much work where we really have needed it. You know, you kind of filled a lot of shoes and filled a lot of holes. And I just want to say thank you so much. You know, all the hard work with the watch party, which I think we'll get to as well. But so special cheers to you, and thank you for everything. You've kind of been a huge rock star this second half of the season. So thank you.
Cheers. Thanks. Thank you. Cheers.
Yeah, you've been killing it. I'm doing a Stone 25th anniversary triple IPA.
Ooh, nice.
Of our friends who we had a nice viewing party. We will also talk about as well in conjunction with this match. But yeah, Oakland. Do we want to talk about it? Or do we
Let's go.
Yeah, Steve, you got to go. You did go.
I did.
You're like, let's go. You did go. You were there. Nichole and I will talk about the watch party here in a second. But how was that? What was that like to experience the Blues Clues field in real time? Everybody, Lady College. It looks like a beautiful spot right off the street there in Oakland. You can explain it. You were there.
I'll tell you that the cameras don't make it much worse or better than it actually is. It really does look like that. It's kind of crazy. I have some pictures we can maybe pull up after later. But yeah, it's kind of insane how they make it look. I don't know how they do it. I don't know. Probably lots of dye and paint and that kind of stuff, but it's pretty unique and pretty special. But yeah, like Drew said, I was at the Oakland match at Oakland this past Saturday night. And it was a really rad experience. You know, it was kind of when this season kicked off, I talked a lot about one of the things I was excited most about was away trips and away days. And I kind of, I made this one happen, and we'll talk about Vegas too, but I'm going to Vegas not this weekend, but next weekend. So busy month for me. But we kind of felt like we were in a place a couple months ago to start planning out on a away trip with COVID and the COVID situation. And so we kind of planned this one out. My wife is from the Bay Area. She's from Pleasanton. So she kind of knows the Oakland area, the San Francisco area. So we decided to make a pretty long trip out of it. It was Bryce's first flight. So we kind of made a, kind of a cool, hey, it's like our first family vacation, our first family trip away, and kind of fit in a Loyal match as well as a Padres game. So we went to a Padres game on Monday night, Padres, the Giants, but kind of the highlight for me, at least, was to go to Laney College and see Loyal play Roots. Obviously it was a 0-0 game, really hope for a goal. But it was a really cool experience. We stayed in pretty much downtown Oakland, like the Jack London Square area. It was about a 30-minute walk over to the stadium. We did meet up with some other supporters. I know Kevin Joseph, who lives in San Jose right now, but he's moving down here really soon. Crystal, who is the president of AO San Jose, I've known her forever. She ended up coming out too, just to hang out. A couple others who live up in the area, reached out through social media. So we had a pretty good group of like 7 or 8 of us who met up before the game, had a couple beers, and then walked over to the stadium. And it's a nice stadium, and it was pretty packed out. Probably 3,000 people, 3,500 people, something like that. Definitely a junior college stadium, so it's you get what you get. But it's all GA seating, which is really unique there. There's 2 tiers of GA seating, so you can have like premium GA, but you don't get a reserve seat. You just sit where you sit. So, and I we talked to the Oakland front office beforehand, and I kind of said, "Is there a place for away supporters?" And he was like, "There is, but you could just do GA." And we're like, "Okay." So we kind of just sat together in one of the corners and represented. I mean, we brought the locals on tour banner. We had no problems getting it in. We set it all up. Massive shouts to Weston. Weston was huge in like helping, he kept going down and taping that thing back up. It kept falling, or the Roots supporters kept, putting it down. But that's a story. That's a story for another time. Yeah, we sang our songs, we did our thing. And then, the Roots supporters would kind of chant and drown us out. And then we'd sing our songs and do our thing. And then the Roots supporters would drown us out. It was kind of fun. But I do know that the team heard us and they felt us. They came over after the match. If you guys follow us on Instagram, I put some up on our Instagram story. I know Ryan got a really cool picture of us, of us who were there. It was a really cool time. Like I said, I would have loved to have seen a goal, but to be able to go away, to Oakland and see our club play and see our familiar faces and it was really cool. It was a really cool experience. So I'll definitely be doing another away trip to Oakland. It was a really good time.
Yeah, Austin Guerrero tweeted that he could hear you. So that was very cool.
Yeah, we were the second half. He was on our side, so we were definitely giving him lots and lots of love. We were, they don't have any seating behind the goal like we do at Torero, but we were kind of closer to one end of the field, and He gave us some love on social media, and he came over after the game and was pretty awesome. Even Emra Clementa from last season, he came over and he was talking to some people close to us, and I kind of walked up and I said, "Hey man, we miss you in San Diego. Best of luck, whatever." And he was really cool. He was really respectful, really kind. He's like, "Yeah, man, I miss it down there too. Love what we're doing up here, but you guys are awesome." So like that was pretty cool, mutual respect kind of thing. Speaking of that, I did go over to the Roots supporters groups at halftime. I walked over there. I gave one of them a scarf and kind of shook their hand and talked to them a lot. Gave out a bunch of local stickers, and just kind of what I love about this a lot is the camaraderie that we have through USL supporters groups. It's not about you suck and we're better and F you guys. It's about this like, hey, we're all building USL. We're all building this league. We're all building up each other. So hey, let's give it all we got. And you guys, what you guys are doing here is cool. And what we're doing is cool. And, they gave us lots of love. I went over there with Weston. Weston said he met up with a couple of them before the match and so we walked over there and, it was really cool. It was pretty rad to see, and meet some of those guys and, give out some stickers and get some love and give some love back. So shouts to them. And I really hope that they make a trip down here in the future. Obviously, like I said in the beginning, it's still, travel is still, on a lot of people's no lists right now, but I'm really hopeful that in the future we get some good travel and groups to come into town that we can host and kind of do the same that they did for me. So shouts to them. I know the two groups are Oakland Roots Radicals and La Brigada del Pueblo, which is a pretty rad name. So shouts to those guys if by chance they happen to be listening. Really cool people. So overall, it was an awesome experience. Like I said, I really wish we scored a goal. That would have been really cool. But the amount of love we got after the game by the club, they all came over. Basically, every player came over and gave us a bunch of love. So that was rad.
Yeah, Nichole, we had a similarly rad experience. Steve, that sounds like it was a dream in some ways, just to kind of be able to go and converse. But you're never sure if you're going to get 3 on the road. Getting some points is always good. So it is what it is. But it's one of those things where you want to at least have a bright moment where you feel like we're taking a hold of the game or coming back in the game or doing something. And that was kind of the drudge, but good times were had all around. That was kind of the theme, I think, of the evening. So Nichole did an awesome job of conversing. She's been pressing the phones, and I'll let you kind of tell a little bit more of this, but really pushing many venues around, just trying to find places for us for watch parties and make sure that we have places to watch. And it's not always easy, especially on a weekend night, especially on a Saturday night, to find places, but had been pressing a little bit around in the club and Stone had been... we all know the story. We've talked about it on the show several times that it's weird. For some reason, they don't like hosting sports events specifically. Is one of their kind of, I've always said it's like Disneyland. When you go there, they don't really want you to think about what's outside of Disneyland. So sports is outside of Disneyland. I think that's part of it. But Nichole, television is yeah, exactly.
Like,
Transports you outside of the
right?
the stonosphere. But how did we get this done? Kind of tell everybody like how it came about and kind of your impression of the night, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, it's really been, on our minds for most of the season that would be a great place to be with their sponsorship. And yeah, like Drew said, I think also another thing that's been tricky about doing watch parties lately is, more people are out and going places on Saturday nights. So places don't want to do reservations on Saturday nights necessarily for a big group. Don't want to turn on the audio on the television for us, right? And like when we're going as the locals, like we're there to watch the match and we want the audio and we want the full experience. And then I think the other thing is now that it's switched to being broadcast on ESPN Plus, which is cool. Like, some of the bars that and breweries that we've been playing with in the past, like they've got DirecTV, they can't get ESPN Plus. There's just a little bit of a hurdle there. So kind of that extra hurdle of, all right, well, then we'd have to project, and is it dark, and is there a wall, or, do they have a DJ playing at the same time? So there's just been a lot of stuff going on to be able to get a space. And I think it's also, the Chavos have been doing really well at creating their own watch parties. And so it was getting like, and the club would be at one place and we'd be at one place and the others. And so it was good in each individual place. Like the people who showed up, we had a great time. But this felt a little bit magical and different it's funny because it came across, we've been talking about it for a while. And I was like, now feels like the time because we're having all these challenges getting it in other places, especially with ESPN Plus. And yes, I partnered with the club to talk to Stone. And it started out actually that they just had the space open. They hadn't sold it. So it was like, okay, you guys can use it this week because we haven't reserved it for anyone else, right? So that was the first sign of it. And I think Nick over at the club was like, okay, you need to limit it because, we can only fit 125 people. And I was like, oh my gosh, if we have 125 people show up, that's going to be amazing. You're kidding. Like, I don't even know. I want to do some incentives. So yeah, I came up with that idea of, just to kind of push it up a little bit, also having that prize giveaway. And that was like, we were doing it here as locals. We're like, all right, we got some t-shirts, we got some scarves, we can get, those special stickers from Travis. And then I talked to the club and I'm like, all right, we want to do like a prize drawing at halftime. Like, do you guys have anything you can give away? And they're like, oh yeah, we can pull some stuff together around the office. So I wasn't expecting much, but Steve, one of the items, so everybody who came in got to like fill their name on a ticket and could be drawn for a prize. We ended up with 20 prizes, one of which was a fully autographed Loyal team jersey from the whole team. Like I was like, are you kidding? So it was an epic prize. And we had, the limited edition sticker sets from Travis. And
you can't find those anymore.
The club pitched in like hats and scarves, and like we're just like, oh my god, I can't call these names fast enough. We don't have time at halftime. So that was really
People would
fun.
come over and just check it out. They would just like eye it up like a buffet. They would like rub their belly and be like, "Oh, are those the prizes?"
Yeah.
There was a fake out Lego prize that was actually a box for a friend, but people were like legitimately like, "I want to win this. I really."
Yeah.
I remember. Well, and I know you guys were killing it with merch sales too, because I specifically remember my phone has notifications for when we sell stuff, and I kept like my phone kept buzzing, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I was like at the match, like I got to turn these off, and so but you guys killed it. And then obviously the turnout, and then all the pictures I saw was like, I mean, yeah, like Drew said, I love being at the match, but damn, I missed out on a party, huh? So I'm looking forward to those again, but the next time I know that will be available, I will also be gone, but we can talk about that later.
Yeah, well, and I think also like, props to everybody who came and showed up, and people like brought their kids and, friends and filled the space and, got there early to hang out and talk. And so many people also like bought dinner. The food was great. I hadn't eaten there before. The beer's good too, of course. But, I think that was a really good sign for Stone that we were positive, respectful. There was drums. There was a dog at one point, but we were like, that's all right. We got this, we'll handle it within our own community. We'll talk it out. So it was really good. And we got 2 more new locals members that night too, people who hadn't signed up yet, because they were seeing like what this was like.
To be fair, they weren't new. They've been at like most of the games.
No, but they were like
for a payday.
It was basically okay, you just gave me a prize. So, one of them won a prize, Jack. And he was like, all right, I know I've been saying I don't have enough money and I'm waiting for my next paycheck, but let's do this. So
nice.
It was really good. But I think it also really showed Stone that we're a good, positive community. Some of us were wearing Stone jerseys too as we're walking around. And they sold a lot of beer and food. So it was a win-win all around. So since after that and the positive reception we got, I mean, it was really cool too. All of the staff that was there was really glad to see us. And they've invited us back for like at least the next 3 that I can see. So that's great, because now we have like a consistent home that's central for people. And that's a really fun place to be, and a big room with a big screen, and it's great.
Yeah, and let's say you said the next 3, but not this upcoming Wednesday, correct? The 22nd.
Right.
Yes, the weekend
not
matches.
the Wednesday, not the weeknight.
Right.
Yeah, just want to interject there and be clear.
Yes, we got to figure that one out.
This upcoming Wednesday, we'll have a different location, but that's
we will.
And luckily on the weekday it's a little easier to find. But even then, you contact people these days and they just go, "Oh, well, we just have this policy or we have this thing," and it is partly that. So Stone doing all of that was great. And then to have their staff probably be the ones who say, no, these people should come back, because it was after we were there that they were like, they reached out and said, no, we really want to do this again.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. And that's awesome to hear, because I did feel like they were running around a bit ragged, and I think maybe they'll be a little better prepared for us next time, because maybe they're just like, maybe you'll get like 25 people in there, 50. Maybe they just didn't know.
Right.
But it was pretty good. We did a great job of filling the place, and Nichole, you did an awesome job of setting that up, and will be a great place to have default kind of watch parties here moving forward, hopefully. And again, the name that's on the chest can actually be what's in your cup, and that's usually that's the way it should be, really.
I counted at one point like 110, 120 people there. Trey Muse showed up. That was pretty epic. Like we all started singing the Trey Muse song, of course, when we got there. His chant.
Yeah.
He said he used to not hear it. I think he heard it enough that night. He's like, okay, I've heard it now. Not embarrassed, but definitely a little bit like, okay, shocked.
That's really cool. Actually, that's really cool. You know what I mean? Like that, I think the club and what we're doing here is instilling a really cool culture, because, he's injured. He's on loan and he's injured. He's basically out for the rest of the season. We signed a new goalkeeper a couple of weeks ago. He's basically out for the season and on loan. Like he could fly back up to Seattle and go back home to, quote unquote home, but he feels like he's going to stick around and he's going to stay and like be a part of this, like he doesn't have to show up at Stone on a Saturday night. Nobody's making him do that, but he did. And that's a really cool, like, it speaks a lot to the culture that the club has built and the culture that I think we're a huge part of building with the locals as a supporters group. Like we're building this culture of like, hey, come out, like have a good time. This isn't about an obligation to show up. I at least I hope so that, the club didn't make him or tell him to show. He just did. And that's kind of the vibe that I got from his appearance and the few of the pictures I saw. So I just want to say, massive shouts to Nichole and the club and Stone for kind of putting that on and continuing to propagate that culture, because that's what's going to build this community. I would still say we're on the small side as far as what we want to be. Maybe not membership wise. We have a lot of members. I'm saying attendance and fandom and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We want to grow this. We want to sell out Toronto every week, and not that we have a responsibility with the locals. Like I'm just saying, we know the responsibility we have, and we know that what we do grows the fan base. And I feel like this kind of stuff, and especially like Trey showing up, kind of just like speaks to what we have done, in what the work we still have to do, but what we have done too. So it's really cool that he showed. It's really, really rad.
I mean, in that community that we're creating and getting to be a part of, like, that's what motivates me. Like, that's why I keep stepping up and doing things, because like to be able to contribute to that community is amazing. And, I also for the watch party, like shout out, to the other groups, Los Chavos coming in. Sure. Oh, they ended up, because they were just doing some drums outside, and they decided, well, let's get together and march through the restaurant as we come into the watch party. And they like started playing their drums like through the restaurant. Like, so it was amazing. Like they had this grand entry that was really cool. And they, then
my favorite thing is when dining people do this.
What is going on? So they really, brought the spirit and the beat as always. Yeah. Espen from Rainbow Loyal was just, he was up there taking pictures, helping people. He got there early to help set up. Like, so it was really this, as well as the club, right? So it was like staff, players, locals, Rainbow and Chavos, like kind of all coming together and making the magic work along with all the people who showed up. So it was great.
Yeah, it was, again, it's a place you're creating a watering hole, I like to say, for the community to come to. And they showed up in good numbers and well, but again, you have to dig that hole to get people there. And it's not always glamorous to dig the hole. It's always nobody's watching. Nobody's usually cheering over your shoulder. So we're here to do that whenever you need it, because it ends up being beautiful when you do. So the game itself, do we actually want to talk about
let's dig in.
This?
Let's dig in a little bit.
We'll do a quick dive. We'll dig in, but not too many actionable points to talk about. And the lineup was what you'd want the lineup to be these days. It's who's hot. It's who's been playing well. You're starting Martinez out there, and that kind of makes sense. He's been in there. I think that's one of the players who you might look at and say, okay, but has played very well. But the rest of the back line is almost as you would want to draw it up at this point, with Metcalf still out and Larraz being on fire. You're going to keep him there, and Yarrow and Stoneman being our best two center backs. Never really felt challenged, I think, throughout the match, besides a few free kicks that were always dangerous because it's a free kick, but did feel like we did a great job of just keeping him really out of the box. Obviously, the first few minutes, there was a nice statement by Guerrero there to shove off a defender. And Steve, you were there. Did you get a closer look at this?
That was awesome.
It seemed he kicked him right in the
That was
chest.
on the further side, so that was actually really far away from us. But yeah, a lot of fans around us were kind of mad and talking some shit to us. But I love it. I love that kind of stuff. Early in the game, kind of set the tone. Like, we're not going to take that. Mm-hmm. We're not going. You're not going to run over us. We are who we are. That kind of stuff I love. Because especially early in a match, referees are a lot more reluctant to give a yellow card. And it kind of sets a tone. So no, I love it. I love it. I love that.
Yes, Nichole, where we were watching it, we weren't really sure at first because you couldn't really see it. Obviously, with these cameras, you see some guy flip over when he touches our keeper and fall to the ground. You think, I hope that yellow's not for Austin, because you almost couldn't tell for the first half a second when he was pulling out the yellow, and then he gives it. What did you think when you first saw it? Did you think it was just a yellow with the replay as well? It felt like the studs were up. So it's
yeah. It felt pretty intense. I kind of same thing. I was like, oh, who's it for? What's happening?
Yeah. No, it ended up being for them, and it's one of those things where it set the tone, I think, for the rest of the game defensively a little bit, to say, if you come in here, we're going to knock you over. We're not going to let you just take free runs in the box and throw your body at us. We'll stand there and make you look foolish, and that's what they did. It just is unfortunate that Oakland has with their weird field, they know how to play it, and this is something you'll see with NYCFC in
it was pretty
MLS,
small, yeah.
Right, where they have their quadrangle, people call it, on that baseball field at Yankee Stadium, which is just one of the more rigid stadiums in all of baseball. A lot of the minor league stadiums that USL tends to play in have a little bit more open, workable space, but playing in that kind of scenario is never helpful. And then obviously here, on a makeshift field in some ways is going to be very strange, and they just played it to their advantage. It's like Premier League clubs you'll see as well that have a lot smaller pitches will play this way, where they condense really well behind the ball. And they've had success. Obviously, early in the season, dropped a lot of points, but now it feels like at home they're almost hard to beat. You can get a nick a draw, but Steve, sorry.
Before we move on too far, I forgot to chime in and mention on the lineup stuff. The one player that I think was missing from, say, a best 11 would be Jack Blake. Wasn't available this weekend. I didn't see why. I just noticed that he wasn't playing and wasn't on the bench, wasn't there. So I don't know if he traveled and just stayed behind or what the case was, but I just wanted to mention that Blakey wasn't there. If not, that would probably if Blakey kind of subbed in probably for either Douglas Martinez or I hate to say Toomey, but probably one of those two guys.
Toomey's too on fire right now. It's
always Toomey, but it's also right it was also the return of Colin Martin, which is awesome.
True.
It was so good to see him play again. So sorry to bring you back to the starting 11,
but
ultimately
I think Blake is the one that I was saying. Yeah, you would throw in there probably over Martinez just if everything was heads up, right? But Two Balls did say that Nichole has bomb lighting on the pod. They're right. She has the goat lighting. She looks good. But
for sure.
They also said this earlier on their podcast that both Jacks did practice at the practice they were allowed to go to. So they saw them both out there playing around, running around. So it is good to hear that Jack Metcalf's out of his sling, I guess, and working out. And so you'll see him slowly come back. And then they said Blake is looking good too. So it probably is just a short spell.
Maybe just a 1 week
rest.
We talked so much early on in the podcast that early in the season that rest and depth was going to be huge, and maybe it was just something just a little off. We're just going to give him this weekend off and get him ready for next weekend. So who knows? But that's kind of the obviously that little tidbit from Two Balls tells me that it's probably nothing. But yeah, going back to the field size, I think Loyal, with the addition of Augustine Williams and Douglas Martinez, they've been playing pretty open. And it seemed to me like the small field limited them a lot. Drew, like you said really well, they just kind of played tight and there wasn't a whole lot of space to operate in. And it played to the advantage of Roots. Obviously a away draw is a good result ultimately. But when you're fighting for a playoff spot, especially in the number 2 spot, so we can host a playoff match, you want to get 3 points always. But ultimately, it's an okay result. It's an okay result. Roots did play well. They're on a tear right now. In the beginning part of the season, they did not play well. Drew, you just kind of settle this, but now they're playing really well. And so, to go away and get a draw, it's okay. It's an okay result. It's fine. We had a couple chances. They had a couple chances. I remember one specifically in the first half where we had a header off a corner kick, and that header went like upper V. It was going in, and then their keeper just made a diving, incredible save. And it's just kind of one of those things where you go, hats off. That's a brilliant save. You'll get them next time, and the XG is probably super high, but you don't score, and it is what it is. So it is, ultimately, like I said, it's an okay result. That's kind of my conclusion.
No, I don't have anything else to add. Yeah. We are straight up on tactics here. Nichole, anything interesting tactically that you think might have changed the game here, or do you think it's just it is what it is on the road, and you take what you can get?
Yeah, I think, Oakland had a little bit of advantage with knowing their field. I think our defense played really solid. Austin, especially back there. But,
yeah,
clean sheet. Lots of car washes all around. Super good. And, there was that great save in the first half by their keeper. And it just didn't quite crack through on either side.
That's when it felt like a win for me, is when Glenn turned around after the final whistle and goes, "Free car wash, right?" And everybody's like, "Oh wait, we still get car washes." So
I will say, I will just say a huge shout out to Charlie Adams. That guy has played, I think, every minute for us this season and in midfield at the number 6. That is incredibly hard to do. That's very, very hard. It's a very hard position to play week in, week out and not get tired, not get burned out, not get injured. So just a huge shout out to him. And also a huge shout out to Elijah. Elijah played incredible. I know he got team of the week this past week. You know, I saw him just there live working his ass off, patrolling that left-hand side from left back. So shout out to him. Shout out to Elijah for earning team of the week. You know, keep doing what you're doing.
Yep.
You're really killing it. So, you know, our left side is secure. I'll say that.
yeah, man. No, there's really nothing to jump into besides playing Tacoma again. Wow. Tacoma again. It felt like we didn't play them at all for like the first half of the season, and now we're playing them every other week. But here we go.
Yeah.
We're bringing them here again. Play like crap in Tacoma, so it's good that we're coming here at least. They are not our friends. As we said, we like to be positive and make friends everywhere, but unfortunately they've been very mean to our point total and actually wound their way up in the playoff chase, I think, partially because of it. It seems like they would be probably out of it if it wasn't just for the points we dropped to them. So they have our number. Other people don't rate them as highly, but we can't sleep on them. They're always going to be in our nightmares a little bit. The Kraken lives underneath our ship, I guess, in Loyal Harbor here.
If I remember
Nichole, do you have any
correct,
just general feelings about Tacoma as a place or a city before we get into the match?
I do, because I lived in Seattle for 18 years. So Tacoma's this, like, I don't know, can't quite be ignored little brother sort of thing. But
Noisy neighbor, yeah.
Actually, you know, the thing I remember the most about Tacoma, especially when you're driving up from the south and driving through Tacoma and Fife, there was always just a weird smell. So that's what I think about Tacoma.
So they stink. That's what you're
the
saying.
points that are dropped there. Yeah, they stink after a while.
But
they
I
go
mean,
bad. Rotten.
Yeah.
I mean, Tacoma, if I remember correctly, and if what I have pulled up is also correct, they've beat us the three times we've played them this year.
Yeah,
you know, one of those first 4 games we went to Tacoma, and they beat
Carl.
us there.
That must be the smell, because it's a weird smell.
Carl Herbo, who's also from the Seattle
mill.
area, said it smelled like a paper mill in the 80s, which is I know that smell too in Milwaukee. It's
it
not
still
a great
did
smell.
in the 2000s also. That must be a paper
not-
mill. I don't
not
know.
a
Or
great
it just,
smell.
the smell hung around. It was so bad.
Should make a candle called Tacoma Aroma. There you go.
Ugh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, but I think during the pandemic, wasn't it like one of the very first matches that we played again after things shut down was that match versus Tacoma, right? And when we were all just such in shock about what is this, you know?
Yeah.
Took it from us then, and it was rough.
Yeah, they were definitely one of the first losses of the season, and those first 4 when the club went 0-4 on their 4-game road trip. And then from what I see here, they also beat us earlier in the season, and they were the ones that stopped us on our 9-game unbeaten streak.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so we've lost all three games we've lost to Tacoma this year. They definitely have our number. The last 2 games were 2-1. I can't recall what the first game was, and it's not loading for what the first game was. But yeah, they definitely have our number, Drew. Like you have in these notes here, this is a big game. This is probably the biggest game of the season, I would say so far. The standings are currently, we have 34 points. We're in second with 23 matches played. Orange County's tied with us with 23 matches played and 34 points as well. We must own a tiebreaker in that we are second. And then Tacoma is fourth with 30 points, but they have 2 matches in hand. They've played 21 matches. So they have 2 more matches to basically earn 4 points. And then they would definitely own a tiebreaker on us with head-to-head. So this is a huge, huge match. And yeah, there's a lot of strategy to be said about, hey, we could play for a draw here. Say we get an early goal, we could really sit back. But I just don't feel like that's Loyal style. So, but kind of regardless, this is a huge, huge match. It might be the biggest match of the season, and how things may end up, because we have I know after this we play Roots again. Like I said, Roots are on a tear. We actually go back to Oakland. We played them on 9/11. We played them again on 9/22, both in Oakland. Thank you, schedule makers, for playing in the same
math.
city.
They're like 11 times 2 is 22.
And then we play Vegas. And then the season, the schedule gets a little bit more vague after that. But my point is, this is probably the biggest match we have left as far as the playoff standings go. And yeah, you could argue that every match matters, but as far as, playing against your competition and, preventing them from earning points and us earning points, this is a huge, huge match. So yeah, the club better bring it this weekend. We better bring it this weekend. We got to shake this Tacoma monkey off our backs, because if we lose, that's 0-4 against Tacoma. That's not good. That's not good.
Yeah, I hope they watched Pirates 2 and 3, because then they figure out how to kill the Kraken. But team movie night. It's a dad joke for you. So
it's a good point, Carl.
I think that they're
in the comments here. And it makes a good point. How many players have we brought in? We brought in a lot of players.
And that was what I was about to say. Do you think, since we last played them, because it has been since we've signed, Ollie, since we signed Augustine, since we signed a lot of these players that are, I call by their Christian names for whatever reason, as opposed to their last names, but they are players who are fantastic and have just inserted and upgraded our team. Right, our team is obviously better with them. Do you think we have enough to where you feel confident about this game, or is it something where you're still tentative, and if it's 1-1 in the 65th, you're going to have that feeling of, oh no, we really need these points? Or do you think we can step up? I'll go to Nichole first, and I'll come back to you, Steve.
No, go to Steve first.
Okay, we're going to Steve first.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say I think we definitely have enough. Our last couple of matches, 2 matches ago, we beat Sacramento 3-1. Last match, we won against LA Galaxy 4-2. And then here, I mean, last game we 0-0, but it seems like, we're finding our form kind of again. We had that 9-game unbeaten streak. We seemed to kind of hit a rut, and then we signed a couple of players. Augustine, we signed him and he stepped right in. And he's been such a stud for us. I feel like we're finding form, and I feel like that 0-0 game was just kind of an anomaly in a weird situation in a weird stadium. Roots have been playing really well with some really good defense, so I don't feel like that was really a momentum killer. So yeah, I definitely feel like we're in a good place. And also Tacoma's lost 2 in a row. I said
they're not as hot. Yeah, they're trending down.
They have 2 games in hand, and they're 4 points behind us. But they lost 2 matches ago to Phoenix Rising 3-1, and then they just lost to Oakland Roots 3-1 yesterday. So they just lost 3-1 to a team we drew 0-0. So yeah, I definitely feel like we're kind of trending up, and maybe they're trending down. And Carl, like you said, like we've signed a lot of new players. So yeah, they, I feel like we're in a good place. I feel confident that we're going to bring it this weekend.
Yeah, they haven't seen us with Laraz.
Yeah.
Exciting.
Ollie's been
the ginger ninja.
Yeah.
They like to say, but he does just pop in and out on that side, and you don't see that he's there, and then all of a sudden he's in the corner, looking at goal and passing it back across the face. It feels like he's one of those players that really does just open up the game. My prediction would be if we get a goal within 20 minutes, we win the game. I think if we score early, like we did against Orange County, and then double down on them, that's going to be a recipe for success, obviously, in most games. But just the way we seem to play against this team, the longer it lingers, it seems like they just got whatever the venom is to snake bite us. So I just want to make sure, too many venomous animal metaphors and some physical, some not real, in this analogy that I've created. But it'll take a whole other segment to unwind. So that's all I'll say about
it'll
Tacoma.
take a whole zoo to bring down the Kraken.
Yes,
yeah.
maybe our number 10. Subtracting a couple numbers, since we were talking math before, Steve. So 10 minus 2. What's that, Steve?
8.
Yes, which is what our 10 has currently been playing as when he does play on the field, and he hasn't started. He has come in as almost like a super 8 in some of these matches to really coordinate. So it has been a development. It's something we talked a little bit about on the podcast last week, but and a little bit the week before is just this development of him slowly playing a little bit different role. But he's talking about how he's played it most of his career. It's not
Yeah.
new to him. It's just new to us as a Loyal fan, where we've been used to him being more of the attacking third player, but obviously has the talent to do both. Do we think he starts? This is kind of my other question for the game. Just
and to elaborate on the number 8 thing for Guido a little bit more, I like what interview he did with the club. I think the club put it out, or maybe it was somebody else. But I like the interview in that he said, what I've done a lot of my career is, kind of dictate tempo and control the ball and slow it down. And like, that's an awesome perspective, maybe he's not that creative playmaker that he was in the beginning of the season or at the end of the season when he kind of had Rubin to play off of. And, we had a little more of a dynamic system and different personnel. And I feel like, USL changes. So we can't just play that same system all the time and expect it to work. Teams adapt. So we have to adapt as well. So, kind of slots into a different position. But I love the perspective that he has. And like, hey, it's okay. I'm just going to dictate tempo and kind of do what else I know. And I don't feel like we really have another player that does that. Colin is maybe the best substitute. And, Charlie is a great midfielder, but he's a true number 6. He breaks up. He breaks up a lot and then he distributes the ball pretty quickly. Colin's really good at kind of doing everything. But I feel like Guido has that kind of presence that like a Xavi has, just like, hey, I'm gonna control this game. I don't care what's going on around me. This is my game now. And you kind of need people like that. And yeah, he hasn't been starting. You're right, and that's kind of a unique. He's our number 10. I think he was probably our best player at the beginning of the season. And then I felt a lot like he was getting man marked out of games.
Totally.
Then, yeah, he hasn't
they
really
were
been
putting one or
starting
two
recently.
on him. Mm-hmm.
He hasn't really been starting, so I hope he gets the start. I'd love to see him get a really good run out and find kind of his position in this team. I mean, I was the one who just mentioned that, the starting lineup, if Blakey slides in, then that's probably our best 11, and that didn't include Guido. And so I'd love to kind of see him find some more feet and find some more space in this lineup. But I guess we'll see. At the end of the day, I'm not beholden to any one player. I just want to see the best 11 out there, and I hope Guido is one of those. But at the same time, if he can't find that form, then he's going to be a bench player, and he's going to come in at the 62nd minute or the 65th minute and change the game when he comes in. So, yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
Be good.
Yeah. If he does start, who do you take off?
That's a
Nichole, do you know?
Tough question.
Do you have a choice? And you can throw a dart at a dartboard.
Man,
I would say it's tough because Corey's been so good at helping with that somewhat of that 10 role,
He's like
or
the
false
false
10,
nine.
a false 9, kind of more so.
Yeah.
It's been really good. So you kind of don't want to substitute that, but it's interesting. Him and Ibarra are two troublesome players in the sense of it's really hard to tell whether or not they should be starting or brought in to take over. And that's always kind of the interesting thing with, I think, the two of them is that they're both have that ability on the ball, where it is nice when you say 60 minutes in, we're either up 2-1 or you're 1-1, you're even up or even down a little bit. And you can bring them in as a boost to feel like you get more control out of the game if that's not the case. I think that's what Steve was saying. I think to a certain degree is we'll see where they decide to play that. And maybe this is a secret weapon they've been holding back is Guido at the 8. Starting at some point. So curious to see if that comes out. If not,
for sure,
we'll keep an eye on that. But any other thoughts? Sunday, it's going to be a 3:00 game. We're not going to have a parking lot. Unfortunately, guys, this is just something we found is that people don't like to stand in the noon sun in a parking lot, unfortunately. So we feel you there. We will have an alternate location. Decided on is the place that people tend to gather before the match if you want to show up an hour or two early and hang out. But it'll be a little more informal in that way. Also bring sunblock. Also bring sun covering or a hat that is sun friendly. We will have umbrellas as usual in a section for our day games, which Nichole, were you part of that idea for the umbrellas? Yeah.
Oh, well, Travis bought them, but
he's very creative.
And I tend to be the one like handing them out. I don't know. I'm often like,
yeah. I was gonna say you're like the umbrella
kids,
proprietor.
Like, and I'm giving them out, but. I mean, Travis got them, I don't know, like 10 for $10 or
I know.
This. And so most of them are actually breaking. People will be like, I'm so sorry, I was just holding it and I'm giving it back.
I didn't know my own strength.
On it. So yeah.
Literally this cost me $1. This is like 2 stickers worth of money.
Right. Yeah, I'm like, I don't even worry about that. Yeah, same thing. Like
he's got that sticker money.
Yeah, but I think we have to really bring it, and we have to start hard and own it too, because it's harder at 3:00, right? Because we're used to, like, we have setup, and then we get the parking lot. We've got time to like really build in. Whereas with 3:00, even, you know, march to the match, like it can get a little light. So people come to the march to the match, you know, right at the beginning, because that's meet at the plaza, because that's the energy that brings us all in. That's what gets us there together. Like, we know it's hot, but just, I think we got to come and bring it loud from the beginning of the match too.
Yeah. I feel like the last 4 matches, the section has just been insane. Like, the energy has just been so nuts, which is so incredible. And yeah, the last match, there was a 3:00 kickoff on a Sunday, and it was hot. It was really hot. Yeah, but I feel like we brought it, and I just keep asking everybody to keep that energy up, because you hear little tidbits in the interviews, you hear little tidbits on Instagram, your Instagram stories, that kind of stuff. Like, we matter. They hear us. That energy does change the game. So
it translates for sure.
I feel like we talked about it before, but Torero is like our fortress. Like, we're not undefeated at home, but we have a really good record at home. And if
people don't want to play there. Yeah,
we got to keep this up. We got to keep this energy up in order to host a playoff game. We got to get second in the division to host a playoff game. If we get second in the division, host a playoff game, or it's likely that our next game will be away. But then after that, it could be back home. So, we really got to bring that energy, keep it up. Yeah, like Nichole said, bring your sunscreen and just go nuts. Just
hydrate beforehand.
Yeah. Yes. And even more so, we don't want to end up fourth in our group. Like, that's the worst possible spot, because we will enter a buzzsaw of another team that's going to be the best, right?
Yeah.
And so that's where you want to ensure that at least we're third. As Steve's saying, second would be awesome. That's what we all want. But you want to ensure that you get there. And this is a huge, if you get this, you feel like you at least lock in almost third, right? Because you're pushing off the person who might come up and snatch it from you. Exactly. And then obviously that away game at OC. But I think as a home game goes, this is going to be the biggest home game we have, I think, seeing through the rest of the season. The New Mexico game will be the most fun, maybe, because
we know
I think it'll be a very it'll be a very fun hangout, and I think it'll be a very loving and just everybody love everybody kind of vibe. But this Tacoma, if you want a real hard-nosed match that means a lot, it's going to be this match. And we'll still need the points from the New Mexico game too, don't get me wrong, but this will be one where you have to get these points. So be good and be smart and show up on time. If you have boozy brunch or church on a Sunday, maybe do those around USD and then just walk right over. There is a church at USD, so you could do that as well. And
I will say we detailed a few things there. Pre-match, we're usually at Coronado Brewing. We'll have some more details probably tomorrow in a newsletter, kind of an email to everybody, and stay tuned to our social media. We're usually there about noon, and we'll head up the hill about 2:15. Our matches to the match, we've been doing closer to match time on the matches that we don't have a parking lot. So we typically have been doing those 20 minutes before the match. So I say 2:40 will be our march from the fountain area, like we have been. So please join us. Not only for anybody to help you make noise, but it's a ton of fun. It's a way to help us grow as the locals and help us get recognition. Like Nichole and Drew just said. These watch parties, people show up and they learn who we are, and then they want to join us. And the more people that join us, the more community we build, the more, it's an exponential effect in that, it grows because of the community that we build, and the community we build grows itself. And that's amazing. Like, that's exactly what we wanted when we started all this. So please come out to us. Yes, Tahiti. Something we could bring patches. We can bring some if you want. We're not going to
Steve will bring patches. Steve, are you going to bring patches?
I don't have them.
I currently have them, Steve. So you shouldn't promise things you don't have. Tahiti, I'll bring patches because Steve already promised it to you. If you ask Mom, then Dad will have to do it. It's fine. But yeah,
I just want to.
I'll have it in my truck either way. I'm probably not going to move it. It's in there right now. I'm not going to move it out of there. So it'll be in my truck. I can walk out. No, I can walk out and get it. It's no problem. So yeah, it's the nice thing is it's a little more approachable, as Steve's saying. It's where we default hang. If we're not announcing a watch party, we're most likely at Coronado Brewing beforehand. Just know that. So for anybody who's ever curious.
Shout out to their good food, good pizza.
Yes.
Good beer and other drink selections. And kid and dog friendly. So we love it. And we're outside.
Always shows and Yeah, it's awesome. It's
Yeah, brings her fancy
It's a really good
shoes
time.
or sparkle shoes, sparkles up the night.
Ooh.
Yeah,
Um,
but
I started now. I'm doing like jewelry. Like I
I
found
saw that. Yeah, I was like, wait a second.
Woo.
There you go.
And
awesome.
so now, I have an excuse to shop team colors. It's fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, it is. It's just you're always bringing a new piece. I'm like, where did this come from? Oh, what's this? Oh, yeah. But I've been delaying because I really don't want to talk about our coach's article, that came out the last few days, and people wanted to talk about the what's going on with our coach, what he's talking about,
we need to.
what's going on,
We have a
and I
responsibility.
really. We have to. It's every other podcast has talked about this. I figure we might as well. And the Guardian article that came out, the Loyal Way, empathy and culture, and kind of what makes us unique, is a very beautiful article in the Guardian, which is a British newspaper, a British publication. Nichole, you're somebody who referenced this to me because I actually didn't even see it come across my feed, and then when I read it, I almost cried. I was like, "This is amazing! This is everything I've wanted to see put in words." So I'll let you take the lead on this, but this is a really cool article. We'll get to the other one in a second, guys. I know the article you're thinking about, and we'll talk about it. But this is a really cool article if you haven't read it yet.
I should give a shout out. I actually saw it because one of the locals in our Facebook group posted it. So that's how I found it. The Guardian, great international publication, but I think that was a really interesting angle that they took, to talk about, that Landon's putting the players first as human beings before the match. Like, I think that's pretty inspiring, pretty right now. And I mean, that's one of the reasons I love the team and keep coming back as a supporter as well, is, because of the stance that they took early on in the season, because that they're people first. Everybody on the team, on the staff, is, I don't know, just feels very centered and grounded and cares about each other for the right reasons. And Landon certainly shows that as a leader, and, is, teaching those guys how to be humans first as well as great soccer players. So it's really cool to see he's getting recognition for it.
It goes both ways, right? Like the tagline is "Soccer means nothing when my players suffer," which speaks to what we all went through at the end of the last season. I think emotionally, along with our team, and you saw the kind of transformation of what this fan base looks like to being more international, where we had a lot of people come in who said, this speaks to me because I felt left out, or I'm LGBTQ and this means a lot to me, or that's a lot of the things that we've seen that's been really cool. To be a part of this fan base, and people just love this team because it's San Diego and love this community and what it's always meant to be open and inviting and honest, to see that actually lived out. Not just for, we always say, oh, well, it's just sports and it's pro sports and it's money and it's blah, blah, blah. And to know that the money people, even the owner, is very much behind it. And all of that, I think, is pretty cool. But the way that Landon lays it out here is pretty neat. I do think some of the stuff where it's just talking about how he has felt as a player his entire life, that he felt like, there was stuff that wasn't right, and he has a chance now to change that, right? When you are that manager position, I don't think you realize it sometimes because you slide in there and you're just trying to not screw up, I think, in some ways. It's most of us at a new job that we've never had experience at, and in his first year to make those kind of moral determinations is pretty incredible. And to have players who can speak that way to him, to feel comfortable enough to express it too, is also a beautiful part of this. Steve, sorry.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No, you're good.
Yeah, I think one thing that he resonated with him and almost came easy to him, which I'll get to in a minute, was the empathetic and the personal side of soccer. Having been a superstar his entire career, right? He probably came across so many coaches that just treated him like a machine, right? And he didn't, and now he's on the flip side and he's going, well, I was treated like I was just this person that could go out and perform. I wasn't a person to them. I was just, hey, we need goals, we need assists, we need you to run, we need you to do this, blah, blah, blah. And now here he is going, wait, if I could have been treated like this during my career, what would have that meant to me?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, he has such a unique perspective because he was so good at this game, and he was so good at this game from a young age. And he was really open later on in his career with his struggles through mental health, right? He took that big break And obviously, whether that led to his omission on the 2014 World Cup, U.S. men's national team squad, we'll never know. All the hints from Jurgen say that it was. But the point being, he did that because he needed to. And he was like, I was in the spotlight and superstar my entire life. I needed a mental break. And he took that mental break. And then he came back and he continued his career. And you know what? Good for him. So I think him treating people like they're players first is a huge part of what makes Landon who Landon is now, because he has that perspective, right? I mean, there's so many former players that are coaches that are coaches because the game just becomes so natural to them, right? Like they understand the game at just such a next level. Like look at Zinedine Zidane at Real Madrid, right? He gets it. He knows how to coach. He knows how to make corrections. He knows how to see the game. And he won 3 Champions Leagues in a row. And then he took a break and he came back and he's competitive again. Like he gets it. Landon gets it. He gets the soccer side, and I'll get to this in a minute, but he gets the personal side more. And I think it's because he was kind of a victim in a sports world that don't appreciate humans. And so kind of that perspective was really highlighted in this piece. And I'm just going to give a huge shout out to our good friend, Cesar Hernandez. He was in the podcast.
I was about to do that,
many weeks ago, he did this article, freelance writer here based in San Diego. He writes a lot for Liga MX and Mexican soccer.
We're going to get him on the pod soon, Steve. I can walk to his house now, so I'm going to creep on him and kidnap him and get him on the pod some week again.
But huge shout out to Cesar. He does incredible work. But yeah, he just did an incredible job on this article.
Amazing.
But I was going to say as a I think Landon, when I'm talking a lot, and I'm done here in a minute. I promise, guys. I think he gets a lot. When he started his soccer coaching career, he kind of said, "I want to do this with Loyal to see if I like it." He wasn't really sure, because I remember very vividly when he retired from soccer, either the first, second, or third time. He kind of said, "It's not for me. I don't really want to coach." And then this happened, and he kind of gave himself another chance, and he kind of said, "Hey, I'm gonna give this a shot." And you know what? He's been pretty open about, hey, I still have a lot to learn from the coaching side of things, from the tactical side of things, from the technical side of things. How do I make adjustments in game? How do I and that's really honest. Like, you don't really see coaches do that a whole lot, but what he gets a lot more is the personal side, how to manage personalities and people in a locker room. You can tell that the players love him. You can tell the players respect him. And you know what? Like, what you find a lot in not just USL, not just MLS, but global soccer, you find people who know tactics, but they can't manage a locker room, and they lose their players more than, they lose the tactical side of things. So you Nichole and Drew, we were texting about this earlier today, but Landon is more than ready to move on and move up in the personal side of things. And I think he has a lot to learn technically, sure, but that side of things is a lot harder to get than the technical and tactical side. And I think it's incredible that he's kind of already captured that. And that, that article just really encapsulates it, right? People first, players second. We're going to instill values. We're impacting lives. We're making a difference in this community. Like, God, what else could we want, right? He
wants to be the professor that everybody comes back to college. They come back to college and visit his class and be like, "Hey, just a second, you got a second?"
Yeah.
Hey, look,
no, but I think it's like a good model as a human being first, right?
Yeah.
Like,
you were relating it to everybody's favorite TV character earlier.
Yeah, I saw Nick called that out too. That it's the Ted Lasso style of coaching, right?
Yeah, he knows a lot. Ted doesn't, right? And the whole part is that through empathy, through supreme empathy, and Landon did a super empath. Like, if you ever sit down and talk with him for more than 5 minutes, you can see just like pure empathy oozing out of him, because he feels real for all those things that he's feeling. It's not fake. It's not like I know how to act in front of people. Like, he really just cares, and it's really, and because of that, I think you get hurt. But Nichole, you were saying, I think that he loves so much that it's cool to see a team that's driven by love and driven by positivity, as opposed to let's kill the other guys. And there is enough of that. We've seen the locker room speeches, right? There's enough like, let's kick their ass. Let's do that. But like, at the end of the day, people feel that way. You can only hit that extreme by people knowing that you trust and that you have this sense of being able to be yourself and express yourself through that, I think. And that's what Steve, I think you were saying is that he is light years ahead of, for instance, let's say across town here, the comparison we've made on this podcast a few times, the Padres back and forth in the season they're having. Their manager doesn't relate to his players, it seems like, and it seems like he's lost their locker room. And you can have the most talented players in the world, and if they don't connect with you and they don't connect with a team vibe, you have disastrous results. And that's, always the case. So to have a team that never has felt apart, I think even in their worst run of play where they had that opening 4 games, never felt like they were catty or there wasn't even a snitch of anger coming out. It was always just positive and we can do better, right?
And I'll say to the Padres comparison, Jace wasn't, there's an inherent, Landon Donovan. He's Landon Donovan. He's gonna have respect because he's landed. But I feel like the players don't love him because he's Landon. The players love him because of who he is.
They come here maybe because of that.
Yeah, but then I don't know. It's hard to explain because we are on the outside. And I'm the president of the supporter group and I hear things and I'm in conversations, blah blah blah. But my point is I'm not a part of those circles, and I don't want to be. I want to be a supporter in those senses. I just feel that they love him, and I just feel like, they get it in that sense. So, the article was so well written, and it was just really, really well articulated. And it was it's also kind of a nice recap and refresher of what did happen last season, right? I mean, we've been through this entire season, and we haven't had any incidents, thank God. But it was kind of like, oh yeah, that did happen last season, and that really did define what this club is, right, Nichole? Don't you kind of feel like that too?
Oh, completely. Yeah, the sort of I will speak, I will act, and the fearlessness about standing up for the important things. That's such a part of who Loyal are to me, and part of that is, Landon kind of and the team taking stands for what's right, and being vulnerable and being willing to lose, and it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, so you got to put yourself out there to create that kind of community, and it's been cool to see. I want to talk more about you, Nichole. So let's get to this other thing real quickly and get it out of the way. But this comes from our friend Taylor. Hi, Taylor. He said hi earlier in the comments. Hi. He's here. But how real do you guys think that the link to RSL is based on everything we just said and how important it is to connect with his players deeply, and the fact that community is really important, and ownership, and knowing that a team will do specific things for its community and to stand up for openness and inclusivity? RSL has not been one of those clubs that has done this. Their owner, in fact, no longer is their owner because of that. So for him to want to go there, I don't know. We don't know what's in his mind, and maybe we'll be shocked, but I very highly doubt. I'll kind of knock this down personally, but then you guys can take your swings at it. There's just no real reason that I would understand, unless he does like to ski, I think. So maybe that's it. But it's away from everything he loves. His family, his wife is from here. That's partly why he moved down here after his playing career. I'm pretty sure she wouldn't want to pick up and move when they have it seems like ideal situation in some ways. And really, what are you chasing? But whenever you have an interview like that, you usually have to honor it. When you get an interview, even with a great company that you're not really interested with getting hired by, sometimes you have to take the interview just to check it out and see what it's about. And that's kind of what this seems like. It's the first round of interviews for anybody who did read the article from The Athletic, and it doesn't seem like he would be the leading candidate based on the other names they talked about. Jason Kreis, who's coached there before.
Legend, yeah.
And is a legend there, and is somebody who I think they should give another run out to, because I think he's a very good coach, and I think he had a bad situation in Orlando that nobody seemed to be able to rectify. So there's other coaches that can go there, and it is interesting when you see these links, and it's a good thing. I think that's what the podcast that doesn't have a name, I forget what it's called because it doesn't have a name, but they were talking about it, and they said that it's a good thing, and I would agree with that. I think anytime you hear your coach being talked about for bigger and better jobs, especially with this guy, it's going to happen. And until it's the U.S. men's national team or maybe the Galaxy, those are the two that I'd watch out for. But otherwise, Barcelona, obviously, and Manchester United. But we got to maybe win a few things, I think, before they start calling. But you guys have any thoughts on this? Otherwise, I think it's kind of a poppycock. That's what I'd call it.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, who wouldn't want him? Like what we were just saying about, like, world-class superstar player, amazing human being, as he's been showing this year to all of us. And he's learning as a coach, right? And he's got a good staff and a good coaching team around him, which you would have if you go somewhere else too. But it'd be a huge loss for us, especially in just growing the soccer community and, getting a team and a stadium and all this here in San Diego. Like, I'm hoping he's continuing to build that with all of us. So don't do it, Landon. Stay here.
Yeah, I mean, I'll finish this up and I'll try to be brief. I think I'll say this: Landon's not going to be in San Diego forever, right? He's just not. True. Especially with, I'll say, the prospect that the 30th MLS team is going to be Vegas. We don't really have, we're not high in the conversations. I don't really want to go to MLS yet. I mean, sure, maybe eventually, but my point is, like, we have a lot of grassroots work to do here before we kind of get there, and I'm excited for that work. I'm excited to continue that work. So maybe, Landon's not going to be here forever. That's kind of what I have to say. Taylor, I agree with what you said there. I was going to kind of say the same thing. I feel like he has more to learn here. He's been pretty open and honest about how he's got a lot to learn tactically, technically. Obviously he's still the executive vice president of soccer operations. So I think no matter what, I think he's going to stay involved with ownership. He's done too much in the community here. He's done too much, especially with no conflict of interest. Say he goes on and coaches another MLS team or something in that sense. There's nothing wrong with remaining as an owner here in San Diego. And I'll say this with 100% complete honesty. I don't know anything about the situation. I haven't asked. It's not my place. This is a report.
We don't know anything.
I am not that person. I'm not that person. So, I no matter what, do I want to stay? Sure. He's a great guy. He's a great coach. He's really instilled a lot of values here. But at the same time, as a human, I wish him the best. And if he feels like the best is a move upward to an MLS club, to advance his career, his coaching career, and if that's the best decision for him and his family, good for him. I would be happy for him no matter what. So he's become a friend of mine. I think that my gut kind of says the RSL job is not one that it's not the right timing for him, but I would.
He does get Rubin. I mean, that's a big selling point.
I would not be surprised if more teams kept calling, because, like I said, he's got a lot. He's got a lot to offer. And Nichole, you said it too. He's got a lot to offer. I would not be surprised if these interviews keep coming, and one becomes appealing, and he does leave. Maybe it's, my gut kind of says he's got another season here, and then we'll kind of see. I just don't know. I just have no idea.
Well, and when these things get out, usually somebody's leaking them out. And why are they leaking them out? Because the fan base, typically, or some other reason. And so he's a good name to throw out to placate people a little bit. And I do think he'll be linked with, as some people have said, I think Jason said this, he'll get a lot more interviews before the day's up. I think he'll have interviews with a lot of different teams when they have a coaching vacancy, just because he's a good name to bring in and measure your other candidates against, just to see how he interviews, and do other people have similar responses? Even if you're not sure if he's the guy yet, you still want to obviously give him a run out, and his resume speaks for it. So we'll see. But as Nichole said too, I hope and stay here forever.
Yeah,
stay here as long as you can.
I'm going to say he is going to stay here forever and continue to build soccer.
It.
And in the human first, people centric, family centric side of Landon, like, this is his family's home. This is his wife and kids' home. These are his people, and we are his people now too. So
yeah,
totally.
Think about us. Don't make us suffer, Landon. Don't make us suffer.
And that'll never change. But I do agree. I think he wants to build something here and say that he's capped it before he moves on to something else. And I think we all kind of agree with that sentiment. So we'll see what that means.
He's ever leaving. No, I won't hear it.
I have heard rumors that there is a contract, like he can't leave his contract till he wins us a championship. I think that's written in there. Ricardo, you can get back to us and let us know. You're always listening. I know you are. So
I love it. I love it.
we need to move on. We're an hour in, and
Yes.
we haven't even got to the most important part, which is Nichole. Nichole, you're here tonight, and we want to
Yes.
talk about your story, your personal story, as well as your soccer and supporter story. And that involves different facets and different tentacles, not of a kraken, but of a very interesting being. But yeah, what is your kind of, to summate, obviously, in a nutshell, where do you think the origin and then your soccer story began, as well as your supporter story and kind of leading into the locals, I guess?
Yeah. Thank you. Not the most important thing here, but thank you. And part of this is, though, what's been so cool about the locals is getting to know a lot of you, a lot of the other locals, like just such interesting people, good people all around. I've been straight up with some of you about this already. My 100% reason for even getting involved with any of this was to spend more time with my brother. Totally, completely. I was like, I haven't even watched soccer in a while. Yeah, I played when I was a kid. I love soccer, sure. But so I moved here to San Diego. So I grew up in San Diego, went to Mount Carmel, then went to college out in Boston, then moved to Seattle for 18 years, then moved to Denmark. So I was in rainy places for 25 years. So coming back to San Diego was part of it, but it was also like, I want to spend time with my brother. And so I moved back here to be 1.5 miles away from him. And we've been doing that for a couple of years. And I'm like, okay, I'm still like, I see him in a family context, but it's still the family dynamic or co-family dynamic. And yeah, I want to hang out with him more. And so it's been such an amazing delight to see Travis in his element, right? Like, and I'm the older sibling. So it's always been like, it's Nichole's brother, Travis, right? Or in some ways, or maybe that's just my own like eccentric way of looking at it. So it's been like so delightful to come in this and be able to like watch Travis shine, to be, on Discord forever. I was Travis's sister, because that's like, I was like proud to introduce myself as Travis's sister, and to get to be with him in a way that's just being friends. But then through that experience of joining in and being like, yeah, sure, I'll help to start it up, like to spend time with Travis. And this sounds fun. And this is a cool like startup opportunity. I love in everything I do, building communities and being part of these like intentional groups of people who are there for the same reason. And then I, through all of this, kind of started to understand more about supporter culture. I was just super into the way from the very beginning. I mean, Drew and Steve, the way you guys were setting this up as inclusive and welcoming and being here for the team and why we do this and what our values are. Like, I was just like, wow, this is amazing. This isn't just like, hey, let's drink beer and go cheer. Like, this is a community. And it's been just so rewarding to be a part of and to meet the people who are part of the community. And be there. I think the one time I was on the podcast, I was like referring to it as like, going to church or something in some reason. We're all there with no matter what else is going around you, you go to the matches, you come together as a group to support the team, to stand up full 90 plus minutes on your feet and sing together. I mean, when you get to like, as an adult, when you get to like sing out loud with other adults, like not in this country very much except for sports. So I don't know. Anyway, I've just, I've gotten more and more into it because of the community, and a lot of, the role I've played in the last couple of months is more like, well, let me help support this community, or I'm just getting a lot of my own reward out of noticing like, oh, this person needs an umbrella, or this person needs another chair or whatever. So kind of whatever needs to be done to like just facilitate that community growing.
Yeah. And I'll say before we move on, one of the cooler things, I think before the last couple of months, we did that member survey, and you did basically all the work for that, which was awesome. But I remember when you called me with the results, you were like kind of almost like crying, like, this is so cool, because we got so much feedback that was, and I mean, when I read it too, I was like, wow, this is so awesome, because we basically asked for constructive criticism, and we got almost like a lot of like, you guys are amazing, thank you so much. And it was like, wow, like, like we don't do this for the thanks, but when you get it in that sense, like it's like, wow, this is what we're doing. People are feeling this, like we're making a difference. So so shouts to you for doing that. But I kind of just vividly remember that phone call when you were like, oh my God, you should like read this feedback. This is absolutely amazing. And like, I feel like that's when your like involvement went from like, like leadership and helping out from like that to like, oh my God, how much more can I do? I want to help out so much. And like this, like I said at the beginning, you've been such an awesome help these past couple of months.
Killing it. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we move on from into anything more, you mentioned you lived in Denmark, and I would like to hear more about that. So please elaborate on your time in Denmark. That is a pretty unique story. Obviously, Denmark is a soccer. There's a lot of soccer that goes on over there, but kind of besides that, you as a human, tell that story, because like I said, it's pretty unique.
Yeah.
I actually brought, I usually have her on my desk. Can you see my minifigure with my name on it? Is it going to focus in? It says Nichole Peterson. So this is my Lego business card. I actually worked for Lego.
She worked for Lego. That's how Denmark she was.
But yeah, that's how Denmark I was. It's got like my Danish phone number and Lego address.
That's like the joke of like, oh, you moved to Denmark. Would you work for Lego or something?
Yes, actually. It's actually like this side is a big closet behind my desk. It is a closet completely packed with Lego sets. Like I do awesome. Lego. I wasn't an AFOL adult fan of Lego until I moved to Billund because it's really funny because there were definitely people who had like wanted to work for Lego their whole entire lives and crazy super fans. There were even people who would so Billund is this like small town of 5,000 people kind of in the Midwest of Denmark, other than having Legoland. People would move there just for the hope that one day they might be able to work for Lego, like internationally. They'd just move there and like live in town and try to talk to people and get a job there. Like, amazing. But yeah, it wasn't.
There's a great documentary about some of this on Netflix too, if you ever want to find out about
cool.
the kind of Legos and how they're made too.
People, like, instead of having a supporters group, like what you did is you build, right? And you talk to your friends about like, oh, I was building last night. You don't say I play with Lego. You build a set, right? Like I was building. So yeah, I've got like the Pride Lego are back there on my shelf up there. I have my best friend was a designer, and my farewell present she made for me. I took it on the plane with me as a carry-on because it was so fragile. So this is all of our friends at our dream beach bar. So we were always in like super dark Denmark, and we'd say, we're going to go to Costa Rica and build a beach bar and I'll hang out. And so like, these are, it's Lego, you can build it again. These are like all of our kids having a pizza party on top. And these are me and my girlfriends at the bar. That's me in the green bikini. So like, yeah, she made me a custom set from a Lego designer. So
that's pretty cool.
Okay. So yeah, my husband.
That's like a life goals thing.
Yeah, right. Somebody build me a custom Lego set.
I want a locals Lego set, guys. Get on it.
Oh, I do actually have some.
Section 109.
So I already bought.
We'll get to it.
We need a shirtless Lego.
With Lego, there are little independent supporters groups, really, that sell kind of by the piece. Like if you wanted to get just a specific piece, you can buy it from them. So I did buy like 5 or 6 flags that are white. So they're like just a post and then a flag. Because I'm like, Travis, we got to design these. Like for minifigures, we got to have locals flags. Cool. So, it's going to happen.
Awesome.
But that all happened because my husband is Danish. I met him in Seattle, and he had moved there from Denmark. And so when we had kids and they were small, we're like, let's do this. And so we moved to Denmark. He got a job at Lego first, and then I got a job after. And it's a super cool adventure.
Yeah. And would you say that's where you're kind of transitioned from playing soccer as a youth, kind of being into soccer, and then supporting soccer kind of came, just kind of seeing a nation where that was maybe their first most, most beloved sport, that it was there. It was more just seeped into the culture, right? So I think that's, would you say that that's the case?
Absolutely. Although I have to say that the other sport I saw steeped into the culture that I had no idea about is actually professional handball. I remember
really?
the first weeks in
They're
Denmark,
huge into it.
walking into my brother-in-law's living room and like women's handball is on like prime time. And I'm like, what is this sport?
What are you watching?
What is this?
Awesome.
So yeah, professional handball is also big.
Wow.
So my soccer story, like, I started out super young, elementary school. I think you might even have a picture.
I do, but I was trying to share. Let's see if this works here. I had it loaded in, and then loaded in. This is, we miss you, Jen.
Okay. We've got
there we go. Oh yeah. Check that out.
That was on the Dolphins. And it's funny, my friends and I still talk about that. Like, I still have friends to this day that I've kept from soccer and my Girl Scout troop. A bunch of us were on the Dolphins together, and we were playing against the other side of Rancho Penasquitos. Like, our rival team was the Huggy Bears. So we still talk about Dolphins versus Huggy Bears. But I played, all the way through high school. But then in high school, I started playing volleyball also. And so when I went off to college in Massachusetts, I was like, ooh, I'm going to Massachusetts and volleyball is inside and there's a lot less running. So I got to say, like, I started playing a lot of volleyball. So I played in high school. I played in college. I coached volleyball. I coached girls club volleyball for a long time.
I love volleyball. It's much more interesting and actually like detailed sport than people think about. Like, there's a lot of thought that goes into who stands where and what they do.
There definitely is. Although it's really interesting because just like 2 weeks ago, I started back up soccer again. I hadn't played. Gosh, it's probably been like 15 years. Like I played in my.
I've been begging you to come out to Barcata. I'm like, come on.
I know, I'm going to now. Actually, soccer helped me kind of not meet my husband, but dating because of soccer. We actually met on Match.com, but one of the things when we finally like got together and had coffee, he was saying, what does he do in his spare time, right? He's like on a co-ed soccer team. And I hadn't played soccer in, I don't know, 5 years. I'd played, but not. And I was like, oh, I'm looking for a soccer team. Are there openings? Because I was like, I like this guy.
I've been looking for 5 years, but I won't tell you that part.
Right? I haven't. I was like, oh, hey, I'd love to play soccer. Like, yeah, is there room on your team? I was flirting my ass off with him, and then he like as we're leaving, it was very Danish because you don't really express a bunch of emotions. So at the end of the coffee date, he's like shaking my hand, like, well, it was nice to meet you, and I'll send you information about that soccer team. And I'm just like, right? And he totally sent me an email with the soccer information, and I replied back, I'd really like to see you outside of soccer too.
Yeah, I wasn't interested. Was this a recruiting trip for your soccer team?
Right? So, but it was okay. So anyway, I started playing futsal, like kind of taking a class for futsal, like right here at
Sounds awesome.
Shout out to Women's San Diego play. I don't know. Cool.
That's awesome. I love Mesa Verde. My brother went there for a bit. Yeah.
So I've been playing futsal, and it's interesting because we were playing a little. It's basically like a practice and a lot of training. And there was a low net, and the ball would bounce over, and then you had to like do something with it and get it back over the net, right? And with my feet, I was like flipping the ball up and stomping on it and popping it up and doing all these things. And people are like, what? What are you doing? And I was like, yeah, how do I know how to do that? Like, that's really, like, I've been for years, but why am I suddenly like just
like riding a bike,
picking up the ball?
Muscles are there.
No, I realized because it was like 20 years of boredom at volleyball practices or not wanting to bend down and pick up a ball. That a ball comes at me on the court, like I have to serve it. Like I put my foot down and flip it up to catch it in my hands, right? So I'm like,
totally.
Or I'm popping it up or just playing with it, like balls rolling around and playing volleyball. So I was like, oh my gosh, my volleyball experience has just prepared me for indoor soccer again. Yay. So yeah. So I'm going to head into my 50th year of life, restarting soccer as a player again.
That's amazing.
The way to do it. That's awesome. And it's what I love about futsal specifically. If you're somebody who is a little bit older and you're over your 30s and you're like, I just can't play on a field anymore. Like you just hear your knees like creak when you think about running on a big field. Like futsal's such a low impact, easy way to get back into it and really feel those foot skills. Or even if you're playing for the first time and you haven't really, and you just love the game by watching and now you want to play, it's a great easy way to step in because it is, you know, you don't have to be Nichole with all her special tricks. You can come in and just be like, you know what, I snubbed this pass, but it's not as bad because you get another shot in like 2 minutes. That's the awesome part versus outdoors. So that's what I love about it.
Really fast though. There's not much.
Moves really quick. Your mind is the hardest thing. Your feet, honestly, is the hard. It isn't as hard as getting your mind right with where you want your feet to go. And that's what takes a little bit, is getting that back for sure. But that's really cool to hear. You know, in terms of what is the last couple years, you know, meant to you? We were talking about kind of how you came through soccer and got to this point, and obviously joined because of. Let me see if I can pull the right picture here. This guy. Oh, nope, that guy. There's the little version of that guy.
Wow.
There you go.
You want to come see Sam? Sam, my kid Sam is here. Like,
hey Sam.
God. What's up, Sam?
That was Nikki and Travis picture.
There you go.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Later, Mom. Whatever.
Send me that, please. No, Sam's saying send me that. So
send that to her? Yeah, I'll text it to you, Sam. There you
go. Yeah. Well, like Travis and I are 14 months apart, so
that's crazy. But yeah, really so you joined there. But what has been the biggest part of like the last 2 years, and what has it kind of meant to you, I guess, in terms of becoming part of? You said it's like joining a family, it's kind of jumping in, but really, what was like the moment where you were like, oh, I'm in, like, for good, and this isn't just a hobby, I guess?
Yeah, I think it's gotta be when we got to be back in the stadium back in 109 and feeling what you feel, like just that all out for me, joy of being there and being with all of you, and that community feeling of it. To me, it's that feeling you get in 109, and that how when any of us are there, when any of us show up as a local, like, it's like, hey, it's good to see you. Like, let's do this. So yeah, that was the feeling to me, is getting back into 109.
It validated, right? It validated a lot of the things we've been doing, where it's just like, sometimes you feel like you're talking to a wall, even though it's, you know, 13 other people sometimes. But it's like, you're just like, hey. And
we want to create this feeling. We want to create this. This is why we're here. And then to feel it happening. And then for me, like, it's been realizing that, man, like, if a lot of the other volunteers in the locals leadership show up and help out, it keeps going, right? It just gets better. Like, we can make it and invite other people. So
we can bring more fashion in.
Yeah. You got to show the other fashion
like these boat shirts.
Travis,
everybody's loving the boat shirts.
Travis might not.
Taylor thinks he has Legos with those.
Yeah.
There is another one here. Oh, let's go just down one.
You gotta go the other one, because I hadn't even seen this. This was just I went through.
Yeah. Oh, hold on. There we go. It keeps flipping back. No, there's your soccer team.
There's my soccer team. Yeah.
Hold on. There we go.
Cool. Okay. Yeah. This is Travis and I, as cool as we will ever be. I was 15 here, and Travis was 14.
This is where punk rock paint comes from. That is the origin.
For those of you listening on the audio medium, go back and watch this on YouTube, because it's worth it.
You gotta go to like an hour 20 or so, hour 15 or so, and check these out, because they are golden.
This is 1987, kids.
So cool.
I was not yet alive. I'll say that.
I was just alive. Yeah, somewhere over in Terrace, actually. Similon, Scripps Ranch. Yeah.
Oh my God, that is incredible.
Yeah, I just love that.
I had a bowl cut until I was 8, so
that might be the year. That might have been the time when, like, I cut Travis's hair before school started, so he doesn't have any sideburns, because I was like, oh, what are sideburns? Like.
That was the age of no sideburns. Like, they just kind of disappeared off of men's faces for like another 10 years until they reappeared in the late 90s.
And yes, SDSU alum, those are shorts that I'm wearing. Those are super cool shorts.
Those are cool.
Do you still have them? Because I would like them.
Mm.
I will rock those.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think you are trying to bring the cardigan game strictly to our section. That's been a consistent theme throughout your life. It seems like is trying to make that happen. So I'm here for that fight, and I will help you with that fight.
Wait, I gotta show you. I have I gotta sew my patches on it. Other people have been showing off their jacket.
There we go.
I've got an orange jeans jacket now.
Ooh, orange jeans jacket. See, she went orange. Everybody else is going green. I like orange.
I know. I've got orange. Gonna bring it. It's a little bit bright orange, as you can tell, but yeah, my patches are gonna go on this.
Awesome. So let's move on to maybe a deeper question, deeper topic, but kind of what does it mean for locals as us being an inclusive and welcoming, open group? We obviously celebrate inclusivity, we celebrate gay rights, we celebrate trans rights, we celebrate all this stuff. It's something we support because those people have been marginalized and their lives have been made hard by society for years and years and years, and they still are. So I don't want to tell your story for you, so please, if you could tell your story on your family and kind of what it means to you to wave the flags that you wave at the games.
Yeah. Sorry, my kid left the door open. I mean, I loved, like I was talking about like the values that we talked about when we started the locals actually like coming true, right? Like I heard this, inclusive, whatever, but like I was just, really so impressed when I saw us at the way beginning. Like we're making rainbow local t-shirts, we have rainbow flags, we have all this stuff just because it's the right thing to do, right? Just because that's who we want to be. Because of our referees. But it's meant more to me personally now. Like during the pandemic, my youngest came out as trans, non-binary. So that's been a big change for our family. And so knowing that, 109 and the locals is a place where, I can bring my kid, we can wave those flags together, we can be part of it. And knowing that like, yeah, just in society, as you're trying to figure out like, where do we fit, what's safe, what do we do? Knowing that 109 and all of the locals, it's a place you can show up and be yourself and wave your flag, whatever that is, has been really heartwarming to make it, a family experience for us. And to be able to, go on my own journey as a parent, going from what does this mean? And you go through kind of some guilt and grief and change and what is all this, to being able to be like, dude, I'm going to wave this flag so big so it's on TV. So all the other kids out there who are wondering, or all the other trans people who, maybe their parents aren't supporting them, like, I'm going to be your mama. I'm waving this flag for you. So that's been really cool to be able to do that in the context of the locals. It's not like I have to go find a pride march or go do this. Like I do some of that kind of stuff too, but this was I'm doing this in the context of my people and who I am as a member of the locals community. So it's really cool for me.
No, it's been awesome to watch. Just kind of your taking to like a duck to water to a lot of that stuff, and seeing you feel comfortable and Sam being comfortable as well. It's been really cool to watch that, because it is just one of those things that warms my heart every time that people feel like I'm just a weird person, right? And everybody accepts me for being weird. And that's honestly harder and sometimes to accept just super weird people. So for me personally, it does feel like that. And to make sure that other people who, don't feel like nobody ever will, be there for them. And that's really how it feels. And to know that, hey, I'm safe here. This is a place where not only my mom and the people in my family, but these other people just all not only have a looking out for me, but they respect and love me in a way that, even at that age, sometimes they can't comprehend. And that's what's pretty cool about it to me is that that's the space we're creating here. And you're a huge part of that. So thank you.
Yeah. It's been really great for my kid too to come and be in the front row, and they're waving that flag, and what that has meant to them to get to be. I'm like, you're probably going to be on TV. There you are on the big screen, like waving the trans flag, like you're out. So, really cool.
that was one of the cooler moments I think I've had in mine. I've had a lot of awesome moments in 109 and from the locals, but that stands out to me, that one match that your kid was there and kind of took that flag and said, you know what, I'm going to own this, and I'm here and I'm welcome here. And, this is a community that I belong in. It kind of meant a lot to me because it meant, as the president of the group, like it's something that I wanted to really instill. I wanted to have that environment. And, that was kind of like we did it, in a way, right? It feels never ending, but it kind of feels at the same time, like, we made, it was, I don't know, it meant a lot. It's hard to say, but it was rad.
Thanks.
Yeah, and we're here because we're standing on other people's shoulders, and I hope someday that other people can stand on ours
for sure.
and build even further. And that's what it's all about. And that's what's so cool is to see people start to climb up on your shoulders, and you get to give them a piggyback ride. Like that's what's this feels like. So it's so cool.
Very, very personally, like this week, I found out that one of my longtime friends who doesn't live here in San Diego. I heard from another friend that their kid came out as trans, and I realized when I called, because it's an option for kids now. Like we all had the, do you wear pink or do you wear black or are you gay or straight? But now, I mean, kids who are ask any 12-year-old, they can tell you there's actually 50 different genders and sexualities, and there's flags for all of them, right? So they have all these different ways to be and for Sam too. It was when they heard about non-binary, when they heard that there was such a thing as you're not a boy or a girl, it was like, oh, there I am. Like, I didn't know this existed as a, oh, that's what I've been missing when I felt like I didn't fit in.
Totally.
Anyway, so I had heard, my friend's kid came out as trans and they hadn't called me yet. So I was just calling to offer support. And I guess I, could have been like, how are you? Right. But I was like, oh, congratulations. I heard the news. Because I'm now you go, kid. You be yourself. I'm proud of you. I got you. Right. You're this.
Celebrate it.
So I called kind of a celebratory, and my friend kind of burst out crying. And I was like, well, we'll slow down a little, talk about it. But I'm kind of glad you're in this with me now. And I'm super psyched for your kid. This is a good place to be. It's a good world. Come on. So
that's awesome.
100%.
Yeah.
That's so cool. It's one of the things where I can't transition away from this in a good way. So we'll put a bow on this discussion by saying that, somebody said Jeff saying best podcast ever here. I would agree in the sense of the content here and what we're discussing is much more important than a lot of the stupid game breakdowns and everything else we do. And that's why I said this was the most important part of the podcast. But transitioning away from that to kind of your personal goals as well as kind of what you want to do here within your position, what is, maybe some of this is speaking to what we're talking about in terms of marketing with the locals and maybe marketing that safe space to other people, that telling them, hey, you can be included in this and finding people like that. So what would be kind of your ideal next moves going into obviously this season, it's always hard to shift in season and do stuff, but if you could do something going into 2022, what would be kind of your ideal next steps with our marketing and ways we can reach places we haven't yet?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is kind of continuing some of the stuff that I've been doing at the matches. So I also, started to do this because I love the chants. I love the singing, as you all know. And so I have been printing them out and going and handing them out to kids and families who come in the stadium, because I think that we've set a tone for what it is to be a Loyal fan as well. Sure. And so I think that it's continuing to outreach to what we do in 109 is about being a local, but it's open for everybody. That's, whenever I'm talking to other folks who are coming to the stadium to see, maybe it's their first match, maybe they've been coming for a while, is to be like, no, come join us. This is, everybody's welcome. Come on in, come sing with us. You're willing to stand up and sing the whole time. Come be a local. This is for everybody. Yeah. So I think it's, continuing to connect with the wider community, but as new fans are coming in because they're hearing about what Loyal is about and coming to the matches, it's that second step of, well, here's what the locals are about. Here's what being a supporter is about. How do we how do we grow it with the people around us as well? And just, I think we do a great job of showing up both when other supporter groups come, and also, you know, being sometimes trying to tell the other sections like, come on, get up. But it's also like, to me, it's reaching out to them. It's being like, oh, hey, here's the chants, here's the cheers. Like, come on, join in.
Individual conversations for sure.
Yeah, just those individual conversations. And how do we do that maybe more at scale and letting people know more about what we're about and that we welcome everyone.
Yeah. You have modeled a lot of that too. So
Sure.
she practices what she preaches for sure. She's the first one out there reaching out to people when she sees somebody kind of like looking and being like, hey, we're the locals. What's going on? So it is something we all can do to that effect, and helping Nichole out as well as you can all be a part of this and be your own evangelist. But you've done an awesome job of those little ways of people hooks, I think, into what we do, not just being like, hey, we're here and here's what we do. And there is this struggle, I think, to be organic, to say supporters should feel like something you come into and nobody has to give you a playbook, right? Because that's not really the way that it's done. But at the same time, there is tradition, there is, pomp and circumstance to some degree to what we do. And I think that you kind of have to give people hooks into that and give them the way to scale their way in, or in a pool, right? Have like a nice sand beach bottom where you walk your way in, as opposed to diving in the deep end. Sometimes that's not everybody's jam. So Steve and I like to push people in the pool.
Imagine a future stadium where the supporter section is sand. Oh my God.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, we go home with more than just good thoughts. We'd have sand in all our pockets all the time.
All right,
but I think so. I'll just end though. But
sure,
like,
please.
Because being part of a supporters group can seem like we're the cool kids in this exclusive club. Like, how do you, and you don't know how to get into it.
That was my next question: is how do we become as cool as you? But I'll scratch that one. Go ahead.
No, but it's the how do we continue to be inviting and welcoming, right? Like, how do we let's just invite. That's all.
Yeah. No, I like it's always such a warm invitation too. So that's the way to do it. But let's move to, we're an hour or so in here. We're gonna this is a long podcast, but again, it's great. Steve, go ahead. Power.
I was like, how do people talk on a podcast for so long? How could it go? And I'm here like,
it feels like it was a half an hour, and then you look up and you're like, it's been an hour and a half, and that's what happens.
So I'm gonna do this. We're gonna do this in 3 minutes. So
let's do it, and then we'll get out and we'll go to post show.
We promised a kit update. The kit update is that we were trying to get them by this weekend's match, and that is not going to happen.
Sorry.
It seemed likely at one point, and then I think kind of the guys with the kit manufacturer forgot that Labor Day was kind of happening. So then
they put microchips in the kits, Steve, right? Yeah, that's what happened.
You get infected with the 5G. So yeah, that's not happening by this weekend. I really wish it was. If it did, we would have had a pickup before the match on Sunday, but again, that's not happening. So it looks like early next week. Our next time that may happen would be next Wednesday's watch party. So it's a Wednesday. We are still going to figure out a location. We still don't have confirmation that they'll be here in time. Obviously, when they do get here, we're going to need to do a little bit of sorting, a little bit of organizing, because otherwise the lines would just be astronomical if we have to sort through 100 plus kits in order to get your custom one or your proper size. So a little bit of organization needs to happen too. Obviously, if those don't arrive until Wednesday at 2 p.m., then we're probably not going to be able to get them out that night. Or maybe we can. Who knows? The point is, stay tuned. We will do our best. And then obviously next Wednesday is the away match. The weekend after that is Vegas. I'll talk about that briefly. I am going to Vegas for that match. I know there's a bunch of other, or a good group of other locals going. If you're considering it or you're on the fence, please go. Please come to Vegas. It's going to be a blast. We're going to be organizing something going on Friday night at some kind of a bar, meetup, locals meetup. Saturday is obviously the match itself. If you are going, please reach out to me via text or DM or social media or something. I want to get a group chat going to kind of figure out what we want to do on Saturday. The Vegas supporters group has invited us to their tailgate, which is rad. But if all the members that are going feel like a bar is kind of more what we want to do, then that's what we'll do. So if you are going to Vegas, please reach out to me. If you aren't going to Vegas and are considering it, please go. Please. It's going to be super fun. Nichole, maybe you can talk about why you're not going in the after hours, because that's a rad story too. And also
I'm not going mostly because I went to Europe. That's why I'm not going. So it's lame. Yeah, it's a lame story.
And the last point is, yes, memberships are closed. We are literally out of scarves. We have no more scarves to sell for 2021 memberships. And we have, it's November 16th, where the 2021 season and memberships are basically closed at this time. We will be considering. We will definitely do
November, or do you September?
Pre-sale for next season soon, I think, even before our scarves. So that'll be what people instead can early join next season.
I was going to say that we're going to start 2022 discussions internal soon, like what timing, how we want to do that. Because I feel like last time we were a little behind the curve, and I just think that was kind of the season crept up on us with everything going on with COVID, and it just kind of happened fast. But
we didn't know we were offering till
here we
February.
So
we didn't know whether or not we could go to games.
Sorry.
Yeah, so you said November. It's fine. It's September, but November is when everything shuts down again. So we are 2 months from the end of the season here. I mean, we're really 2 months from when everything goes away. So we are much, much closer to the end. But
thank you, Jason.
We will get there. We'll have all the money going in the right directions as you guys want to offer us your money. Jason, thank you. But yeah, we'll throw it towards next year and always supporting the good cause. And we'll always have ways that you guys can support, right? Through not just us, but other locals helping locals in different avenues and other places to go in the AF season. So
we're going to have some philanthropic endeavors coming up. There's, especially with the holidays and all that. So some ideas floating around in my head, I think around some others' heads. It's the time for, holidays are a time, but it's a time for giving too. So, we're going to definitely be active throughout the holiday season and through season's end. So stay tuned for that information as well. Stay tuned for watch parties. Stay tuned for kit updates when we do get those, when we can get them to you. We are so excited. I will say we did get kind of a sneak preview picture from the manufacturer, and it looks incredible. That's all I really have to say, and I think we should wrap this up here.
Yeah, the printing is great. The people are great. And this was a great podcast, great Peterson podcast. And at some point, we'll get your elusive brother on one of these who acts like he wants to be on, but then also somehow shucks every time that we try to get him on here. But we will nail him down. He's like Jello to the wall sometimes. He is elusive.
I'm the extrovert.
he expresses himself through his art beautifully, and we all enjoy it. So keep drawing, Travis, and you never have to come on the podcast. It's fine, unless you really, really want to, and we'll roll out the red carpet and come to your house, even if you really want to do it that way. So. There's an option there always, but we love you. Thank you for coming on, Nichole, and sharing all of your story and your family stories with us. It's really meant a lot, and I think it's something that a lot of people just don't know some of the heart that goes into. They see people talking at events, they see people getting up and running a raffle or something, but they don't know the perspective sometimes in terms of everything that's there. So thank you for doing everything that you do. And Steve, good to have you back on, man, because makes these podcasts go a little bit smoother when I don't have to juxtapose between two guests who aren't sure if they should be speaking at the same time. So thanks for coming back, man.
I will say thank you, Nick and Tony, for filling in. I just couldn't make it work last Thursday.
They're always welcome.
But I have yet to listen to that one, but I've heard good things, and I think I will do so.
We're going to be shorter than that tonight. I'm going to tell you that much, especially this specific broadcast. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Thank you. And that's the end of the official show where the music plays, if there was music, if you're listening on a podcast. And now we're in technically what the post show is. So you'll see the magic and by see, you'll hear it if you listen on the podcast tomorrow morning whenever I wake up and actually cut it out. But welcome to the post show, guys. People generally had a good laugh about me bringing up Europe once in the podcast, which was literally just me saying that I spent way too much money there. That's really what happened, guys. So all those great experiences. And Nichole actually gave me a lot of good recommendations.
I would say when in Rome, but that's a literal, when in Rome.
When in Rome. Yeah, I said that a lot. It was like, well, when in Rome, you have to
spend money.
spend a shit ton of money on mediocre things that are better in the rest of Italy. But I feel like, you're having a great time because it's Rome.
When I'm in Vegas, I'm gonna go to Bellagio. I'm gonna go to the Venetian. I'm gonna go to all these places, and I'm gonna send you pictures, and I'm gonna be like, "Look, Drew, I'm in Europe."
Yeah, I'm in fake Europe. But are there bridges, Steve? Are there bridges? That's what I want to know. I think Rommel said that there's not enough bridges. He's right.
Yeah. Rommel's coming to Vegas, I believe.
Yeah, everybody's going.
Planning on going to Vegas. That's gonna be rad. But yeah, Nichole, you should tell your why you're not going to Vegas story.
Well, I'm not going to Vegas. So September 25th every year, well, since we moved to San Diego, we call Peter Peterson Day, my husband's birthday, because we throw a Danish lunch for people. And a Danish lunch is basically a 5-hour long, a little bit of pickled herring, a lot of meats, fish, whatever, but just a lot of shots and a lot of alcohol. it's a drinking fest. And yeah, but a very kind of spirited, formal, but fun Danish lunch. And so, yeah, Travis and my husband and I, and a couple of the other locals too. Actually, I've got, how many locals will I have at the party? 1, 2, anyway, my local friends here in PQ, we will have a TV or a screen out for the match in the backyard for sure. It's a backyard party with about 20 people. So that's where we'll be.
Sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Love PQ, love the locals.
Sounds like I would nap on the couch probably twice.
There are usually naps that go on during it.
Yeah, with that much
as long as somebody naps in the pool or in the hot tub, then you're fine.
Yeah,
right? Yeah, exactly.
A smoreboard.
Yeah,
smorbrad.
Smørbra. I probably still am not pronouncing it wrong. I only took like 4 years. Nej, vi har ikke gammeldansk til. No, we don't have gammeldansk. We'll have tons of akavit.
Yeah.
Linnea.
That's the important part.
So when you met your husband and moved to Denmark, did you take classes or did you just like learn the language being immersed?
Yay, socialist countries. So when you become a resident of Denmark, which, you live there, you get 3 years free of Danish language lessons. And I thought that was going to be like being stuck in a basement with tapes, but no, it's
some like community college.
12 people with a teacher 3 times a week, wanting to get you super entrenched into learning the
culture, is so cool.
Language. So it's really important. Although Danes are like one of the number 1 countries in the world for being able to speak English. So I could cheat a lot. So I probably didn't learn enough Danish, but I got to meet all these really cool people because when I was there was a lot of when a lot of the Syrian refugees were crossing the border and coming into Denmark and lots of other places. And I was taking classes during the day because I didn't have a job when I first got there. And so my classmates were like the people who I would like sit around and have breakfast with before class in the morning were from Afghanistan, Iran, Syria. This guy who had been an Israeli soldier for the past 15 years, me who's an American, and we're sitting around at the same table and we all have to learn enough Danish to be able to talk to each other. So you're in your first 4 months of Danish and we're trying to talk about what it's like when there's a war going on in your home country and how politically, our own countries are against each other, but we're here together. We're bringing food for each other. Just amazing, amazing experience. And I did get to learn some Danish as well. So
that's awesome.
Social Danish, but yeah.
Did you travel a lot? It's up, you're in the middle of Europe. Did you travel to Germany and France? Did you travel?
And when you're working, it's a 37-hour week. And you only get 7 weeks of vacation standard. They with your kids in the summer, the schools say, for little kids, they had after school care, like they do here, summer camp stuff. But they said the kids are required to be taken out of any school or care for a minimum of a 4-week block in the summertime. Basically, you have to go do something with your kids for a month, right?
You're forced. Yeah, they were forced to.
Yeah, which
That's cool.
it's amazing. So so we when the kids were, I guess it was, gosh, they must have been 6 and 8 when we did the, like, what we all as Americans do when we're like in our 20s or 30s, like get a Eurail pass and you go on with a little backpack and go from place to place. Like we did a month of that with the kids when they were 6 and 8 and went to like,
oh my God.
Like, oh, okay, we'll go to Venice and Verona, and then we'll go do some stuff in Austria and pop over to Munich, and then, go see the Matterhorn in Switzerland, and then end up in Milan.
Wow.
Like,
that's great.
So yeah, really cool. And then with like Ryanair over there, we could fly to London round trip for $45. I could fly.
And kids don't care. It's short enough. You just throw them on there, and
and I had an old college friend who was there in London, so we went and stayed with her. And then I had one friend who was like, oh, hey, I'm going to Rome for my dad's 70th birthday. I was not working at the time. She's like, if you could make it down there, like, I'm like, okay, Rome and Denmark are not really close, but I'm like, let me look this up. Holy crap, a plane ticket to Rome is $200? Yes, I will be there for the week. So we did take advantage of it while we were there, or like, it's October school break. We're going to take the kids to Berlin and go look at the Berlin Wall and all the art on it and talk about what that means. Like,
live the history. It's so cool.
Did your kids learn Danish too?
Yep. So they're more fluent than I am, for sure. Yeah. Well, and it was so cool because they had just turned 3 and 5 when we moved them there. Is that right? Yeah. And so we just put them into a Danish preschool. None of the other kids there spoke English. Most of the teachers didn't really either very much. And so little kids sponges within like, I don't know, a few months, they were both fluent and just totally chattering away.
That's insane.
That's incredible.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Do they learn any other languages growing? Like, obviously, growing up here, we learn English and then we take Spanish. Like, all the kids there know Danish. Do they take like German or, you know what I mean?
When you get older, I mean, they all have English lessons all the way through, so they know English and Danish are the two. But yeah, you can learn other languages as well. And then, but the neat thing was, as they got older. So Lego opened an international school in Billund, across the street from Lego and Legoland, Denmark headquarters there. I guess pretty much when elementary school started for the kids. So it was an international school, so it attracted all of, the international employees of Lego, all of their kids. So kind of being in a classroom where by default, all of your peers speak 3 or 4 languages and have lived in multiple countries, as like, we're all like this. It's just a different perspective on the world. Like, I remember when we got back here, my son kind of being like, I don't know these games on the playground here. Like, I've never played baseball and I don't know basketball. Doing, and I was
where's
like,
the handball team? Come on.
Where's the handball? But I'm like, you've been outside of Rancho Penasquitos and 2 languages and you've been to 11 countries in your life. It's just different. It's just different things that It's not like better or worse. It's just a different
Later, those will be way cooler than the things
now.
It is a very cultural different. I think that's like the crucial period, is that like some of that pop culture stuff that you just miss out on, that like you don't see, but like it all catches up. And then in certain ways you have an advantage because you just don't see it the way the other kids do. But it's having that well-roundedness and like knowing what history was. And so if you're in history class and like, it's like this, and you have visual context for like where that place, it's so different than anything else. And that's
even
awesome.
like as an adult, I mean, even as like an adult, like, okay, so I speak English, the privileged language. We had enough money to afford me not working, being in Denmark, right? I'm a desirable immigrant, and realizing it's still really, really fucking hard to be an immigrant, just mentally, that like it gives you just such a different perspective on immigration everywhere, on the value that so many people, like my friends and I, and so all these people who I was in classes with, it was the guy from Syria who like owned his own business and now couldn't even get a job as a janitor, right? Like those differences of where you came from and who you were there that aren't seen in your new country. Anyway, it just,
No, and just being a refugee too. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
you have a respect for that that's totally different, because it's to know how hard it is just to be an immigrant when you choose to move. And then
Right.
if you don't choose to move and you have to go, like, and imagine it's just so much more difficult. You have some of that perspective just based on that, which is really cool. And there's always that joke of like, when I'm in Tuscany, I'm like, I would move here to this little town of 2,000 people, and I'd be there in like 2 months and be like, what did I do to my life? Like, what am I doing here? I don't know anything about any of this.
The cool thing is that
yeah.
then, like, the people who are international, it kind of feels like the locals. Like, you bond together and make your own family and have each other's back. You're like, none of us have family here. So I almost feel like more, you know, here, if something happened in the middle of the night, I'd call Travis, right? Like, I've got my person I would call. When I was there, I mean, I lived in a small town, but I'm like, there's probably 7 or 8 people I could call in the middle of the night for anything I needed, right? If something happened. Like,
and there's like, a trust just because you both, you know that,
Yeah, you have to be there for each other. So you kind of learn that and start to take it with you and build it in other places. Maybe that's part of why I kind of wanted to be so much part of the locals and find it's like it's a community you build together, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a question that totally switches gears, but who would win in a fight, Lego or IKEA?
Well, I actually
both
have
came at
a
each other.
Lego IKEA collaboration right here.
They're both Vikings.
Yeah.
So let's say that it went down Viking style, right? They both have to build their own
Lego 100%.
Viking stuff, and they go after each other. Yeah.
Lego has, I mean, such strict specifications on how the bricks have to grip each other and hold.
I think their engineers are better. Yeah, I think Lego has better engineers.
Well, it's different.
For sure.
It's different. It's Lego's like quality.
Oh, no, it's who's going to win in a fight, Steve. You have to have an answer. You can't say they're going to both walk away from the fight, which would probably happen because they're both sensible.
Sean Duffy wins. Have you ever stepped on a Lego? I've stepped on a Lego.
That's what I'm saying.
That wins
the
the
second
fight.
IKEA steps on a Lego, it's over.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
I stepped on IKEA furniture and I'm fine.
To be fair, I did step on one of their like dowel things when I'm building some furniture here, and it was very painful. So, but Legos, it's that like visceral, I want to cut my foot off kind of pain.
Yeah.
That's pretty incredible.
Or when you're a parent, you just learn to like shuffle your feet for like 7 years instead of actually stepping. That's what we did.
So how would you like trash talk IKEA? What would you say? Like,
well, it wouldn't be very Scandinavian really to trash talk anybody.
Yeah, but it'd be very like backhand
quality.
Compliments. Yeah, like, oh yeah, you dress us so nice, people can buy a new one in 6 months.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Got you.
I hear you, Taylor. Yeah, I know. So yeah, Denmark. Yeah.
They have a shared history. There is some, and I do think the two companies are kind of aligned. They're both in smaller towns in their countries respectively, and are big exports for their countries.
Yep.
In terms of culture. So I do think it would be interesting to see who would win. Again, I think Steve's right. They would probably just lay down their arms and walk away and be like, let's go build things. But
yeah, I mean, I think IKEA is, definitely like made furniture and style and a lot of that stuff in Scandinavian style very accessible and global, and hats off to them. But Lego, it's like there's this deep-seated, and the family who still runs Lego is like, it was amazing working for them. And like you go to the big company meeting and they're not talking about profits and margins and numbers. They're talking about how can we help more kids play. Like, play,
it's all about play and building.
Play is important to us as children, as adults, as human beings. We need to play more. How can we get more play?
It's a special company. They're very unique, in their thought process. It seems like,
yeah, definitely.
Something to look for as the locals, right? To have that North Star is always a guiding light for any group. It's always nice to have.
And then obviously what happened with the Euros with Christian Eriksen, I remember that phone call from you, like, can I bring a flag? Oh my God. I was like, yes, of course. And that's when I had the idea of, hey, we should go paint the thing for Eriksen in the garage. And my wife is upstairs, I think, sleeping. But she was the one who actually painted that whole thing. I traced it out, but she painted it. And she's like, yeah, let's do it. Hell yeah. This is rad. And I'm super happy we did that. And I just remember your phone call. You're the first person I thought of when that happened. So
Yeah, well, and then my
obviously
husband wore his
bad, but-
Danish uniform and went
Yeah.
into that match, and yeah, so I'm gonna bring that Ericsson little mini tifo out for Peter Peterson Day this year. So
Cool.
Perfect.
it's with all of our Danish flags and things here.
Yeah, I made
Yeah,
sure that
I remember
he got
texting you
after
during
the
that.
match.
Yeah.
Oh, Stevie.
Oh, and
No, yeah.
and what will we be drinking? I did when I walked through our garage tonight. I saw my husband must have been to Bevmo and completely cleared them out of Carlsberg beer because there's just like six of Carlsberg. So that's our
I
beer.
will take all of that, please.
Yeah, I'll just have the whole.
I'll take
case.
all of this.
All of them.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Give me it all.
That's awesome. Well, anything
Well,
else?
guys. No, that was my big thing was IKEA versus Lego. That was my big post-show question.
Was it, huh?
Yeah, I mean, there's always the, like, are we going to have a locals? So, yeah, we were speaking of locals game night. I think we could have locals building night. That would be a thing. Could do
That would be good.
Bring some
Yeah.
sets.
Yep.
Do some
I got
builds together.
have lots of Lego. I like doing them at the holidays. That's one of the little things I do for myself is like just
Get
that
you-
kind of quiet time is build something.
It is. It is. It's like a sand garden for the mind. It really does, like, kind of relax you and put you in that mode. It's like coloring for some people. I totally get it.
It's calming.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah, and we gotta we've got to get ready for the Wednesday watch party as well. Got work to do on that and more and more fun. I'm going to LA this weekend. Like I haven't packed, but I'm leaving tomorrow at 8 a.m. with my friends because for friends and kids, we have tickets to Hamilton on Saturday night. So we're going to Hamilton. So yeah, we're going up tomorrow, hanging out. We've got a house for all of us. And then we're going to go to the La Brea Tar Pits for the first time in my
Well,
life.
that'd be fun.
Southern California. And then, yeah, so going to LA.
I once was parked there.
Yeah, so that was my we're driving back on Sunday, so we better get our butts up early and get down here.
There
Yeah,
you
See
go.
you in 109.
Yeah, I'm doing a just in case, bringing my game wear with me.
Nice.
Running right into the game, yeah. So if you're a little extra tired on Sunday, it's not the heat, it's the Hamilton, is what we're hearing. But
Yes.
that's fair. You gotta be in the room where it happens. So
Yeah, and just don't throw away your shot.
yeah, just don't.
Oh,
Not
too many,
like us
too
against
many.
Oakland. Yeah, we threw away a lot of shots. They should have watched Hamilton before that game. Maybe we would have scored, Steve. There you go. But I'm good, guys. If you guys are good.
Yes, Jason. If we host a playoff match, we will definitely do a TiVo.
Yes.
Yes, that is in the plans, and we've
That
been
will
saving
be
kind of
a-
up for it. And there will also be an October TIFO coming as well.
Yes. October TiVo has been in the plans, and then a playoff match TiFo would be a quick turnaround for TiFo and for TiFo terms. But yes, we would absolutely do one. We would say that would be an all-nighter paint session if needed kind of thing.
Well, and I know too, we can sort of get slightly bigger groups together. So I know there's a lot of folks who wanted to help with painting at times. So we got to figure out a way to make that happen. Spooky TiVo.
Spooky TIFO.
Faux show.
I think we need a locals pumpkin carving contest.
Well, the last one had a
that's a
skeleton
rad
on it,
idea.
so it was already spooky. Just kidding.
Nicole. That's a rad
Chavo's
idea.
a skeleton.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be
Pumpkin
awesome.
Carving party. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
Like a pre-match thing, maybe something like that. Okay, that's a rad idea.
We could make pumpkin seeds too. We can
Yeah.
kind of roast them and then eat a bunch of delicious pumpkin seeds. Flavor them. Have you guys ever had seasoned pumpkin seeds? No, this is just a Midwest thing. Okay.
No, I've had them. Well,
All right.
I'll say if it's a Midwest thing, my wife is from Michigan, so that's probably why.
She is. I thought she was from the Bay Area, Steve. She can't be from 5 different places. I'm just kidding.
She grew up.
I know Lydia's story.
Yeah.
But yeah, she is very she's got the best of both coasts. That's what I like to say, and a coast that doesn't exist in the Midwest. People like to think it's not a coast, but it's a coast. It's the
Michigan.
fourth coast. Yeah, it's the fourth coast. But yeah, I like being sort of from both places as well. Very much from here, but having that balance is always cool. And Lydia and I always talk about the differences and things that are kind of similar, but also sort of different, which is always fun.
Yeah. For sure, but yeah, lots of lots of things coming up. Sunday's match, obviously. Wednesday's watch party. Vegas away. Then the final month of the season. So, of the regular season, because we have all of November to win it all.
Yes.
We're going to.
Yep. Because Landon will be our coach forever.
And then he'll say when we win, "I'll be your coach forever." That's what's gonna happen. But I think it's all gonna happen. I do think the one big takeaway was that if we invented a soccer version of D&D, we would make millions of dollars, or $0, but we'd have millions of upvotes on Reddit, I guess. That was the takeaway from the Discord lounge, in case you guys were wondering about questions. Not really sure if there's any other good questions. Game night, we touched on that. Pumpkin carving night, I think I like better than game night. I think it's something everybody can get into. Ages, 2. Okay, how old do you have to be to hold a knife? Bryce isn't going to hold a knife, right?
He can scoop the seeds out, though.
Yeah, so I guess you could be any age and participate. Yeah, exactly.
And draw something for his dad to cut or mom to cut.
No, probably not.
Pumpkin design.
He'll probably just go and find something to bang on like a drum.
Like a pumpkin.
He's obsessed with the drums in our house. Yeah. He runs every chance
pumpkin drum.
Yeah, every chance he can, he runs to our garage where the drums are, and he points at the drums and cries until we get them down.
Yeah.
You've
created a monster.
Yeah, when I got off work, he did that, and I was like, fine. And I got the drums out, and I put them in the backyard, and he banged on the drums for like 2 hours. It's like, fine, go for it.
Someone said when he... Oh, sorry, Nicole.
I was going to say, you asked me facetiously, how do you get to be so cool? You follow your passion. Like, the kid likes drums, give him drums. Go do
it was
your
not
drums.
Facetious. It was in the show plan. It said, how do we become an ounce as cool as you? I'm just looking for an ounce. Just sell me an ounce.
People laugh. They're like, we're going to buy Bryce drums. And I'm like, no, just because I don't want that noise. But, you know what? If that's what he wants to do, yeah, I'm going to be okay with it.
Yeah.
I
think he likes the context of the drums, though, that it's like with the people and the people get into the drums too. So I think there's something to all of that a little bit. But
I think it's a lot about he loves music. He dances when we put music on. I just think he has that kind of musical inclination. So yeah, we're gonna definitely celebrate it. And yeah, electric drums. I love that idea, but they're fucking expensive. So
yeah, they're especially for a kid that age. Yeah, it's just like here's electric drum. Here's 1,000.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know.
I think he's going to smile, Steve. You said when he smiles, it'll be epic. I think it's when we win our championship that Nicole's talking about. That's that's when he'll smile.
He's been waiting. He's like, Bryce, I'm waiting for the championship. I'm not sure yet.
Knowing Bryce,
he could also give the Michaela Maroney face of the not impressed.
I'm gonna tell Ryan when he takes that picture. I'm gonna say, hey, take 5 pictures because. The one, if you took one, it's going to be him just going. But if you take a lot, he might get a smile.
Just maybe one, yeah.
Yeah.
But I think Ryan's almost playing a joke on you. I think he's just finding the ones where he looks the most disinterested and then posting those ones. Is he giving an eye roll? Okay, we'll use that one.
That might be true.
Who knows?
But it's pretty funny.
That and now I'm in the dark.
Oh, God.
Yeah.
Well, my TV lights it up, and then when my TV goes to sleep, I lose. So earlier in the podcast, full disclosure, I lost my TV, Apple TV unplugged because I got a whole new. I'm in a whole new setup here, so it literally unplugged, and then I can get it to come back for 5 minutes.
Jason, that's really funny because he loves other kids. He's like, I want to. He sees a bigger kid walking around and he's like, oh my God, he's like I love them. You could just tell he loves older kids. So yeah, he might. You never know.
Maybe.
Last match he fell asleep in the stands in Mark Dyer's arms, and then Markland took over.
That was so cute.
That was so awesome.
He just fell
and then
asleep.
I rubbed sunscreen on the back of his neck.
I know. Thank you. Totally saved his neck. Yeah, that kid he's something else. He's full of energy, but when it's time to go to bed, nothing bothers him. So he's good with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like he's gonna grow up in this little culture, and he's gonna be leading the drum line at 5.
It's amazing.
we'll see.
Yeah, he has to push it. Well, actually, it'll be Diego leading the drum line, and then he'll.
Both of them.
I know it'll be all three of them going to town there for sure.
So
and
sick.
Anybody else's kids want to jump in? Let's go. Start them young, as Nichole does with the chance. Got to get them in there. You never know. We could find our next capo or next drum leader.
Yeah, you never know.
It would be a good problem to have, to be like one of the younger supporter sections, but pretty full of kids. That would be not a bad thing, but it's one of those things where it's always a mix. And, I think we have enough older people. So, yeah, why not bring on the youngins and, start is there a Cabbage Patch kids we can start growing for this? Or, that was just a myth? All right. I was sold a lie as a child about growing children. Which sounds kind of Matrixy and Soylent-like, but...
Matrix 4.
Yeah, speaking of which, that's actually where they find out that they actually all are Cabbage Patch Kids. That's the great reveal at the end of Matrix 4.
Jason, that's a great idea with bringing a tambourine, putting a sticker on it.
Yeah.
I've got some stickers for that.
Well, there's actually this is a really cool story. This made me think of this. So at the last match, I was drumming. Because we need more drummers. So if you are listening or watching and you know how to drum, reach out because we could use you. But I was drumming and I'm mediocre at it. But my wife has been in music her whole life. Like she sings and she's got a whole story. But she kind of like tapped me on the back and she was holding Bryce and she was like, "Let's switch." And I was like, "Okay." Like I know she has she can drum, she has rhythm, like she knows music, whatever. And she did a great job. And so like towards the end of the first half, this like I would guess 9-10-year-old girl kind of walked up and she had her own drumsticks and she brought her own drumsticks to every single match all season. And I think it was because we finally had a female drummer that she felt like she could walk up and be like, "Hey, can I drum?" And so Lydia was like, "Yeah, you can drum." And so she like
the scary bearded
Lydia
guys are
and
scary.
this 9-10-year-old girl like did drumming like the second half like together, which is so rad, right?
Yeah.
Like because it was finally
so
like
cool.
a female that she felt like she could walk up to and like ask if she could do it. And I think Lydia was like, "Oh yeah, like how long have you or something." Like she got the story of "Oh, I brought my drumsticks the whole match or every game," and she finally felt like she could like ask. It was really cool. Tay
cool.
Friend's kid, but yeah, it was really cool. So I don't know.
Gotta give us a name, Taylor. Friend's kid doesn't help.
It depends on I don't know. I mean, obviously we have a kid.
That's so cool.
No names of mine.
It's where it matters. We were talking about representation matters. This is where it matters a lot, right? Is having those people that do drum, and I think I won't say it's it's one of those things where personally I feel like I'm ever intimidating, but people always say like you're intimidating. I'm like I don't try and be. I'm very not, but we are. Like you can't help it sometimes, especially to children. So it is nice to have. Somebody who's a mom and who is a woman, right, standing there representing, and that makes a huge world of difference to a girl who just says like, these guys seem intense and I don't want to screw up their thing, so I don't want to get in the way.
Yeah.
And just having that presence there makes it totally different.
But that's how you grow it, right? I mean,
exactly.
She's going to come back. She's going to want to play more. She's going to want to be involved, and then that you grow it. Like, yeah, you'd be inclusive when you welcome people in.
There's a girl who's a local and her parents are locals, but they sit in one of the other sections along the half. And it's too loud for her parents in 109, but she comes over and comes and stands up front and, cheers. And so, I'm always handing out flags to everyone. I'm like, here. So
I was going to bring this up on the podcast, Nichole. I forgot. I was going to say your additions are that you're creative in your own right as well. In terms of adaptability, but for sure, making just like simple changes, right? Simple ideas of like, can we change it to this? It's like, done. Makes a ton of sense.
Yeah, that's a turning point moment too. Like that, especially in now all of kind of my journey with my kid, and I hear those things differently now. I'm like. Totally. Well, I'm not one of the loyal boys, but I'll sing along to that. Okay. But then I'm like, wait, with my kid who's like not a boy.
What's their line?
Like, what's their line? How do we be inclusive in all of these things that we're doing? And so, I put that out there, and then somebody else came up with it's the Loyal voice, and we all like changed that cheer, like
really
we changed
fast,
that chant really fast. Like the next week, we were all singing it differently, and I was like, yeah, like because it was just
it matters.
And pointing it out, and it matters. But it wasn't just that it mattered to me; like it mattered to all of us. Like so.
It's 100-year-old chant. I mean, it's come from teams in Britain. Tottenham sings it, and other teams do. But it's cool to see, like, and maybe we're not the only people doing this, but just to be like, oh yeah, we don't have to take that as is. Let's rewrite everything and make it the way that it should be. I've always loved that from you, just to say like this is the way it should go. So no, it is something I wanted to make sure it was in the podcast, but we just didn't get it in there. So it's in the after hours. There you go. It's recorded.
After hours. So I was gonna say though, like this girl. So I gave her a flag. She was waving the flag, and I was chanting, yelling, waving a flag, and then I looked around and she was gone. And like one of the other locals was like, oh yeah, she dropped the flag and it went under the bleachers, and she just like freaked out and was so upset and ran away. Like she thought she was in trouble, right? She thought like, oh my gosh, I lost their flag. By the way, flags drop under the bleachers like
happens every game, 3 or 4 times a game.
I dropped like 6 drumsticks a
drop a flag.
Yeah, drumsticks go.
Drumsticks, stuff.
Drumsticks find the holes. I feel like they fall out of your hand and just go like, whoa, I'm gonna go to the ground.
Yeah. But that was like one of the few times that during the match I've actually left section 109 was I went and ran up and down every single section of the stadium trying to find her to tell her, come back, it's okay.
Yeah.
And I couldn't.
Well, then we ended up finding her because of social media, right?
She self-extricated. That's so
funny.
I remember you posted in Discord, and then you posted on Facebook or something like that, and we ended up finding her parents and like.
And they were like, we're so sorry, we'll pay for the flag, and she felt really bad, and I was like, no, I want to.
It's not a pit of lava down there.
I want to get it. Like, no problem.
We're actually storing flags down there.
Please come back. So,
It's actually where they go. You helped us out. We don't have to carry it down now. Thank you. But yeah, it's so funny. Yeah. Oh no, it's a shark pit under there. There's sharks swimming underneath the bleachers, so we're never gonna see that flag again. It's gone forever. There is spiders. It's not like there's no cost to go down and get that flag. I'm not saying that's the case. Trust me, it's really gross and weird underneath those bleachers. But there's a lot of things that USD should clean up underneath those bleachers that they never touch. So it's it's so cute. I ruined it. I ruined everything. I dropped the flag. Oh no. Yeah. But yeah, as long as you don't break yourself. It was a good outing in 109. That's what I say. So, or others. Yeah. If you don't hurt yourself or others.
Speaking of things from matches.
Yeah.
I have my secret. I'm not supposed to show that I have that up there. You see that?
We've certain things never make their way back to the ball bag. Just saying. If they enter our zone, it's like the Bermuda Triangle. Balls just go disappearing. I don't know.
But allegedly my mom caught at the match. I'm like, I caught it in her hands and gave it to her. Yes, my mom caught it. But then she gave it to me for my birthday.
That's sweet. That's a nice way to do it.
Yeah. So
she knew it was yours. She's just like, I'm gonna hold on to this so that she appreciates it.
I did not steal a ball. My mom did. Grandma Betty did.
Hey, nobody's gonna go after your mom. They're gonna let that slide.
Hey, they just moved back here, so Grandma Betty will probably come to matches again.
There you go. That'll be great.
Back to San Diego from Seattle. So.
All the Petersons.
All the Petersons in the house.
The gaggle of Petersons. What's a flock of Petersons called?
Ooh.
I was trying to think of like a P word for a grouping, like a pregnerum.
No, I like flock.
Parade. Flock.
Parade of Petersons.
Something.
I like flock. Flock.
A murder of Petersons. It's just always the weirdest term for a group of things. It's a murder of crows. Or it's a murder of ravens? Murder of crows.
Crows.
Yeah. Ravens have a different term that's also weird. I forget what it's called. Taylor will answer it in 2 seconds because he has Google, and I refuse to use it. It's
a pride of lions.
A pride of Petersons.
Pride of Petersons sounds actually pretty good.
A pitfall of Petersons.
Yeah, a pouch. If you only have like Nichole and Travis, for instance, that's just like a pouch of Petersons. And then if you have the whole group, it's like a pride of Petersons.
Or a posse.
There is a place in PQ now called Peterson Rock where they gather and then they hold up their children when they're born. If you guys go, it's a very beautiful scene. All the other people at PQ come and they gather underneath it.
The
whole
Petersons
thing.
of Penasquitos.
A baboon comes and lifts the child up, and
I
it's
never
like a whole
thought I
thing.
would live back in PQ again. Woo,
I know, yeah, it's
so
one
weird.
of those things where, like, you said that it's like it's so funny, but you have a great, it's a great place too. But it's like it is one of the things where it's like so funny where you're like, I would never move back to the exact place I grew up, and I always kind of felt that way about Scripps to some degree. Never about San Diego in general, but it's just like really funny when you end up living there as an adult, and you're like, yeah, I was here as like just a child, and like this used to be different, and you just the weird memories that pop in your head where you're like, you could like taste the cookie you had at a store that doesn't exist and hasn't existed for like 30 years, and you're like, what, like, how does this even work? But that's how your mind works, is just being in those places and spaces sometimes unlocks these different things, which is always fun. But no, I'm out of content. Anybody else got any good questions for us? Otherwise, I'm good to wrap you guys and let you guys sleep. We're not going 4 hours. We've done half of that, so congrats.
No.
Imagine going another hour and a half after this. That's what we did last week, and I'm
think we
never going to try and equal that again.
We needed to be drinking more if we were going to do that.
We were drinking a decent amount. It was also a night where
that's so easy to do. It's so easy to just keep going.
That was the thing, is with the two of us there, it was just like you don't even realize it because you're hanging out. Yeah. So it's when you're doing in-person shows, like they could definitely run on an extra hour and you don't even realize it because you're just sitting there and you're like, you're not looking at the time as much because you're just like talking to people. You're like, somebody's looking at the time, but nobody looks at the time. That's how that goes. But no, it's.
Well, thank you for inviting me, and
thank you.
It's also been just really cool to get to, have you guys as friends is another like benefit of this. Somebody the locals, but getting to know you two and seeing your leadership style and being a part of this and feeling like you guys are my friends. I love it.
Yeah. Well, the same sentiment goes right back at you. This has been an awesome. I've known Travis for, loosely for a couple of years. I've gotten to know him also through this experience, through locals, but to get to know you as well has been a blessing. So thank you so much.
Thanks.
Yeah. It was incredible when he was like, I got this sister and she's pretty good at marketing. And then I saw you guys do the Warren thing and I was like, she's got to be involved too. Like,
oh my God. We didn't even talk about that.
Really got
we didn't even touch on Warren. That's for next time. We'll talk about the Warren next time.
Okay.
Oh,
we need
that
to
was
talk about that.
That was super fun. That was another kind of thing that I did because like, cool, I get to hang out with my brother and work with him.
I totally forgot about that.
That might be like the only time in our entire lives we've like collaborated on a creative project because he's.
But you guys were so amped about it. Like you guys were so into it that everybody else was like, everybody else wanted to hate it, but you guys loved it so much that we were like, I kind of have to be down with this. And I'm still trying to find ways to back end it in. Like if we can have a tiny like child section, like children, like if we ever go beyond 109 to like multiple sections, I wouldn't be against having like a paddock of children, a paddock of Petersons. There you go. But if you had a group, and then we'll call that the Warren. That's like our briar patch where the little rabbits grow up, and then they can feel more comfortable in the fray of the locals. But it's caters towards families and stuff. I feel like that would be totally the Warren.
I think it would be the small dog section of our dog park for Bum. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, exactly. The idea is you have the different groupings, right? You have the small dogs where they're just not as comfortable yet with the bigger ones, and for all types. There's certain people who are just like, hey, I like to hang out in the Warren because this is my vibe. So I feel like that's still a thing that could happen for sure. My name is legally copyright, so that's never going to happen unless the club wants to pay a lot of money. But it was just so good. It was such a good presentation.
Your name was the bomb, Drew. I'll just say that. People who don't know.
Can we call 109 the dog park? We could do that.
Ooh.
The dog park's wherever the locals are, to be fair.
Yeah.
The barking lot is more of like a place where we happen to come together and bark. But sure, yeah, it's kind of
we don't have enough barking in our, fan culture.
Well, I always thought if we were going to try and replace a goal kick thing, like instead of obviously saying a derogatory slur, that's not going to happen and has no place in our culture. But one of those things would be barking, either like seals or dogs. I always thought it would be better like seals, where it's like "ar ar," because it's just more like it throws people off. But like barking like dogs works too.
Yeah, and Barking Like Seals is San Diego. That's good.
That's what I thought. Oh, I'm back to the darkness.
All right, if we're talking about Barking Like Seals, that means this is over.
Yeah, and I'm in the darkness now officially.
You're dark.
My TV told me to go to bed.
Thanks for staying around, Taylor. And everyone else who's listening, but just not calling.
Yes.
I think they fell asleep with
everybody.
it on. Our CBS crowd that we got here. We're the NCIS of locals podcasts, where people just hang around and we get good ratings because they're falling asleep with it on.
Thank you, Jason. Good night. It's been fun.
Yes.
Yeah, enjoy LA. Enjoy going. And I was going to say about the La Brea Tar Pits. I got stopped there at like 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. one night when I lived in LA and looked over, and it was like pre-COVID, but it was like when I thought the zombie apocalypse might be happening. And this guy was like walking towards my car, just like slaggy leg, like looked like a zombie, like extra in a movie where he's just like, it might have just been on something weird, but that was, And then I drove through a red light because he was approaching my window of my car, and I was like, I got to get out of here. So as long as you don't go at 3 a.m., you'll be fine.
Okay.
That and then the movie Volcano, for whatever reason, stick out in my mind with the La Brea Tar Pits, where they, that's how they knew that the volcano was coming, because tar pits and volcanoes have something to do with each other, I guess. But enjoy Hamilton, obviously, as Steve and I alluded to. But we're good. Yes. We're out. I don't think we have anything else. To the Discord.
Hey.
Bye, Nicole.
Bye.
Thank you so much for hanging out.
She's out because she should be, because going this long is ridiculous, because we're almost at midnight. But that is the podcast. Thank you, everyone. Right. Oh, Taylor, I walked down Market Street at, I don't know, 2, 3 a.m. Actually, it might have been like 3 a.m. from pretty much the like Civic Center area, right around UN, to like the FIDI. And yeah, it's the jam. Actually, it was really fun. She hit the button too quickly. I've done that before. I don't hate you and Jerry. I just left. I was like, bye. Bye.
Yeah. He did.
Yeah. It's easy. Bye, Steve. You can leave whenever. We can end this. Yeah, I'm just going to hit end. I'm going to hit end. Bye, guys. Love you guys.